Welcome back to part two of the Sunday supplement. Let's focus on yesterday's FA Cup action. And at the One Call Stadium, Jackie, the Sunday Telegraph highlights Max Dowman. History maker Dowman justifies the hype. We'll come to him in just a moment, but they were given a scare, weren't they, Arsenal? But they found a way. They always, this season, seem to find a way.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And they started with two 16-year-olds, Max Dowman and Marley Salmon, who was in defence. And it was an opportunity to give other players minutes. And it's also an opportunity to expose them to a League One team, first team, strong team, away in the FA Cup. A very different experience to what we see every week in the Premier League. And they came through it. And it's excellent, the fact that it was hard fought. They don't want it to be 3-0, 4-0. I don't think. I think the players themselves, especially the young players, Salmon and Dowman, will have benefited from having a real rough and tumble game. And by the way, the two excellent goals that Arsenal scored were not from set pieces, which will just help shut people up for another week or so, possibly, or for at least about half an hour on this show.
Yeah, we'll be discussing that further later in the show, I'm sure.
And Dowman was exceptional. He had a lot of touches on the ball, and it wasn't just in advanced areas. He came back, he defended. He's had some time out injured, but he's such a talent with his balance. He's a real kind of wriggly sort of player, manages to wriggle out of challenges. He is exceptionally left-footed. That's not a criticism, but he'll do anything to use his left foot instead of his right. In a way, you think back in the day of one of my heroes growing up with Stuart Pearce, and you think, well, he scored lots of goals. You think, well, surely he's going to take it on his right foot, and he finds a way to take it on his left. But, his defensive work, his positional awareness, his ability to pick up the ball in pockets of space, his bravery, his courage to run at defenders, and he just looks completely at home at first-team level. And he's 16, for goodness sake.
You mentioned 16. He became the youngest player, Dom, to appear in the FA Cup for Arsenal. They have got an absolute gem on their hands here, haven't they? Oh, yeah.
Very fact that he's been around it since he's been playing since he's 15. That just needs emphasising. I've got three boys. One's 17, one's 15, and one's 13, and I couldn't imagine them being in the Premier League. If you understand, that's like the babies and what he's doing. You can quite rightly say that he's one of the best in the world for his age, because to make it in a Premier League team, it's a global business now. So the very fact that he is doing what he's doing at this age, all credit to him, his family, how he's been raised. It's an extraordinary achievement. This can never be taken away from him. What an incredible job they're doing nurturing him, and we can only hope that he continues to progress without having any pressure on his shoulders.
Carl, Oliver Holt from the Mail on Sunday was at the game. Arsenal survived in the end, escaped with a 2-1 win, and are still on course for the quadruple. We are into March now, and the whispers over a quadruple. What's the next level up? Is it a murmur? They're turning into murmurs of a quadruple now.
Sure.
They couldn't, could they?
No, they won't.
OK, thanks.
I think it is deeply unwise to talk about quadruples until we know who's won the League Cup. I'm also of the belief that you can't win a quadruple because the nature of English football is too attritional. There are too many games, too many attritional games, and players essentially just burn out come crunch time. Liverpool came close, and then the following season everyone got injured.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely spot on. The closest Liverpool got was in 2022. They won both the domestic cups.
Yes.
Got to the final game of the Premier League season. City won.
And then Courtois had a fantastic game in the Champions League final.
But you're right about the physical capabilities of them, because Thiago Alcantara, who'd been such an important player,
gets injured just before the League Cup final.
No, he was injured in the he was injured just in the build up to. He basically had to have painkilling injections to play in the Champions League final. Van Dijk had come off injured in the FA Cup final. It's incredible. The ferocity of of going for a league, the games that Arsenal play. I mean, I know everybody are looking at the running that Arsenal have got and think that it's straightforward-ish. It never ever turns out that way.
This is not to disrespect Arsenal, in that I think Arsenal are a fantastic team and they are going to finish the season with at least one of the big trophies. But to win 4, you need to maintain a level of quality and play football at a level of intensity that I think is just outside English teams, particularly at a time where other teams across Europe are able to change their schedules. If you compare PSG's March fixture list to Arsenal's March fixture list, it's completely night and day. PSG have managed to get one of their games pushed to a Friday, so they have more time to prepare to play against...
The league have given them that time off especially.
So they have more time to prepare against playing Chelsea. These are the little things that allow a French team or a German team to prepare better for I mean, they can't even... Well, Germany can't have a quadruple. France can. No, they can't, because they've combined their two cups. So the quadruple doesn't even exist in certain nations. This is no disrespect to Arsenal. I don't think we should be talking about the Q word because, one, we don't know who's won a League Cup yet, and two, have you seen the English schedule? Unfathomable. If they do, bring me my hat and my shoe and I'll eat them online.
Well, we'll definitely bring you back onto the show just to see that. Jackie, just generally on the FA Cup, a word on Mansfield, because they really did put up a fight. Macclesfield had an extraordinary run in the Cup, beat the holders in Crystal Palace earlier on. Crystal Palace themselves last May, winning the FA Cup, their first trophy in their history. Just overall, when you look at the FA Cup weekend like this and what has happened in previous rounds and what happened last season, is it another example that maybe the much maligned FA Cup and maybe the magic had gone, it's well and truly alive and kicking?
Yeah, I don't think it's gone. I think it's all cyclical, isn't it? Like, you have a couple of obvious results and you're kind of not really enthralled by them and you go, oh, the FA Cup, it's just getting in the way of a good Premier League or whatever. And then you have what happened at Macclesfield to Crystal Palace, for whom it really mattered, by the way. It wasn't like second string and they weren't that fussed. It did matter. And it was just a magnificent day. So I don't think the FA Cup magic has gone anywhere. If we start tweaking it and we start, you know, denigrating the tournament with new regulations, then it could do. But no, I mean, I watched the Wrexham-Chelsea game yesterday and it was very much alive and kicking. It was fabulous. I enjoyed every single minute of it. I was at Mansfield last weekend in the AFC Wimbledon away end and wouldn't have expected Mansfield necessarily to have pulled out of that performance against Arsenal yesterday. But it's the FA Cup that lifts these kind of performances and the pitches, and the oldest ground in the world, by the way. I learnt last weekend at Mansfield because it's proudly adorning the stand there. But I think it's very much alive and kicking. And I think it's with the pressure on Premier League managers these days, going to those kind of grounds, the pressure that they feel to not be knocked out is enormous. And Chelsea, you know, benefited from a red card in the end and came twice from behind, and good luck to them. But it wasn't straightforward.
We'll come to Chelsea in a moment, but sticking with the theme, Dom, of quadruples and maybe clubs not being able to do it, there is another team who is still in the mix, albeit an outside bet considering where they are in the Premier League just now after the midweek results, is Manchester City. The Mail on Sunday, tune sick of the sight of quad-chasing City. They seem to be... I mean, I think Eddie Howe's joked about it. At least they didn't get Manchester City in the Champions League. But the time that they can meet them, I think, is in the final.
Yeah.
They'll probably take that. No Haaland, of course. 10 changes from the draw against Nottingham Forest, but seemingly no problem for Manchester City.
No, the most impressive aspect of it all was the fact that Newcastle had started well. They were in the ascendancy. They got the goal. And then all of a sudden, the cogs clicked. And away they went, Man City, with the incredible quality that they've got. I would have a sneaking suspicion that they might win more trophies than Arsenal.
Oh.
Just in terms of the cups,
So City for the domestic cups, Arsenal win the league.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think he's got the manager's got an edge about him. And I did the first leg of this. I was with Craig Hope for the first leg of the League Cup semi-final up there in January, and he just looks like he's got an edge about him. He just looks like he's got the eye of the tiger in terms of the fact that you can make 10 changes yesterday, not have the best centre forward in the world, and do that at a very, very tough place to go, I think is ominous.
Carl, he says the manager's got an edge about him. It is something that I noticed when I watched that game as well, particularly what was happening on the sidelines. And Martin Hardy, who was at the game at St James's Park from the Sunday Times, he says Guardiola's biggest fight of the evening came in his efforts to remove his winter coat. Such was his fury at a foul given to his side midway through the second half. He even appeared to square up to Lewis Smith, the fourth official, after receiving a yellow card for his rage, with fist clenched and eyes bulging. This is not a Pep Guardiola that seems to have lost his hunger, that some people might have accused him of earlier on in the season, and one that many believed, even though he's got a contract until the summer of 2027, that he might actually call it a day this summer.
Yes, I don't believe Pep Guardiola is going from English football anytime soon. Sam Lee at The Athletic wrote a fantastic piece last week about how Pep Guardiola's changed their early build-up. So you saw Rodri and Nico sort of drop deep and do short goal kicks, and Pep Guardiola explained this was sort of an attempt to break down teams that are now looking to man-mark in defence way more. And Sam's point was amazing about how the method of building up wasn't necessarily successful, but it was Pep Guardiola trying to figure things out. And one thing that's always stuck with me is an anecdote his wife gave, which is you can talk to him about something that has nothing to do with football for about 40 minutes before his eyes glaze over. I've lost him. He's thinking about football again.
40 minutes?
No,
40 minutes.
It's the 32. It's 32 minutes, isn't it? It was in the book that Marty Perrenau did about Bayern Munich. It's the 32 minutes. That's what he's.
And then the eyes glaze over.
That's ages.
That's what his cut-off is.
No one can talk to me for 32 minutes without me bringing up football.
No one can talk to me for 32 seconds.
Same. I'm astonished it's that long, seriously.
But I just feel as if Pep Guardiola, sometimes he gets into these moods where even if there is an opponent in front of him, he sort of invents a new one, so he has something else to chase. Yeah. And when you have that sort of singular drive, that sort of bizarre focus on the tactical minutiae of football and how to not only get your team to be good, but also to figure out the master puzzle of how football should be played, which I think that's how he views football. I think he's going to be here for a very long time, which, as someone who doesn't support Manchester City, makes me do a big weary sigh. Go away, please.
The man's a genius. I remember I did a game when he was Bayern Munich manager. We played Hertha Berlin. I think it was November 2015, just before he came over. And it was one of those rare games that you could just watch and you weren't reporting on live. And that was the first time I'd seen him do that 2-3-2-3 system. And he knew Bayern Munich was so much better. And he was like, how can I entertain myself during this game? And he was working things out for him. He's like, the way he ticks over. That's what just gives me his record of winning. And his ability to work things out in big games just makes me think that through the final weeks of the season, they're the ones that will just have that little bit of an edge.
Do you think they're going to win the Premier League?
What?
Do you think they're going to win the Premier League?
No, I don't think Arsenal win the Premier League, and Arsenal would be deserving Premier League winners. But I would think it would be very. If he's within 4 points before that game at the Etihad, all bets are off.
Okay.
And they've got that game in hand, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, this probably sounds a bit bizarre to say. I think City are the most likely of the two teams to have an unexpected result, just because of the very nature of how he's still building this team together and it's still quite new. But the talent that they've got and what he's got himself, that X factor, would make me think that they would be. They're very dangerous.
And the addition of Semenyo as well, in January, and Gehi as well. But Semenyo's just added that kind of hit the ground running Premier League, just joy and goals and freshness, real freshness, which is a bit awesome for everybody.
What was it you were saying, 32 minutes before the eyes glaze over? Well, I don't think that could have been the case if you were watching Wrexham against Chelsea yesterday. The Observer Sport, they say Hollywood drama. Wrexham give Chelsea a big scare. I want to just quote from the Sunday Times, actually. Jonathan Northcroft was at the racecourse ground. He says, for a moment, for a mad, raucous, was this scripted moment, Wrexham seemed headed for the FA Cup quarter-finals and you were toying with intros like Hollywood bloody hell. But with that certain gravity football normally has, Chelsea's resources and talent pulled the tie back down to earth. I have to say, it hasn't stopped the headline writers from using Hollywood in every single headline, even though Wrexham didn't get through. But they were given an almighty fright, Chelsea, last night, weren't they?
They were, and it was brilliant to watch, just as a complete neutral. It was just fabulous to watch. And we saw a lot of the Wrexham owners, didn't we? During the course of a lot of the Wrexham owners, and if they're in the Premier League, I think there might be a bit of a backlash to that going forwards. But it's a good piece in the Observer today by George Sims that's worth a read, which talks about the two sets of American owners, but the very, very different styles, in the sense that with the Hollywood owners of Wrexham, it's very much about the storytelling. And of course, they've had that documentary, haven't they, with Disney+. Whereas with the Chelsea owners of Todd Boehly and Clear Lake, it's been very much a case run as, a business, like a city firm, if you like, and very much from spreadsheets. And therefore, with the players and the managers, etc., struggling to create that kind of rapport and relationship with the supporters. Because as supporters who pay ticket money to go and watch their team every week, you want to love individual players. You're not thinking of balance sheets. You're thinking of, is this player going to be in my team for the next couple of years that I can really form a bond with? And your kids, and then they become heroes. And then 20 years down the line, you look back as that individual player as being your hero. Whereas at the moment, Chelsea supporters don't necessarily have that attachment, and they don't even want to start liking Liam Rosenior because, how long is he going to be there? Because the model, whereas Wrexham, it's very, very different.
To quote from the piece that Jackie's just alluded to there in The Observer from George Sims, here in the flailing limbs and profound joy of Sam Smith and Callum Doyle's goal was a reminder of what Chelsea are missing under their current ownership. Ultimately, they have a storytelling problem. Lacking anything constant or substantial for fans to grab hold of and love, increasingly alienated even as the club flirts with stabilisation. And they finishes off the piece by saying, Wrexham serve as a reminder that investment and feeling are not mutually exclusive, and that a good story can so often beat reality. So what are we saying here? Can Chelsea learn lessons here from Wrexham?
Chelsea won. This is a fantastic piece from Sims, but I'm like, oh, hang on here. Chelsea won it.
Against 10 men, but
yeah, well, they all count. They all count.
Yeah, and they did win.
And yes, look, Chelsea now under Bluco feel very, very different to how they felt under Roman Abramovich. And when I talk to my Chelsea supporting friends and fans there, they talk about this sort of idea of the Bluco player trading model. And when Enzo Maresca left, there was this conversation about the sort of rift between Enzo Maresca, Bluco, and the many different sporting directors. And whatever Chelsea are doing, it feels atypical. It feels different from how other, you can call them traditional super clubs or the new money super clubs work. And it can be hard to build a connection. So Liam Rosenior has a hard problem, not just in terms of winning matches, but also to build this sort of narrative. So I guess, we now have to make a Chelsea documentary on a streaming service? Is that what we're saying now?
Yeah, maybe.
Stadium, which is celebratory right now off the back of another Arsenal win, 2-1 against Chelsea. It's a 5-point gap at the top again, one game in hand. We end the weekend, in a sense, Gary, where we started it. What about this game, though? There was a whole lot of jeopardy around it. Yeah,
I mean, look, it's a very good week for Arsenal. You think about where they were a week last Wednesday after the Wolves game, and there were big questions, and I think one of the toughest things in a title race is when you're actually asked to play second and your competitor, your main rival's playing first. And City have had that advantage in the last week where they played 2 games ahead of Arsenal. I don't know how many times that's going to happen. I actually think that, to be fair, look, it always happens, and to be fair, we're on TV, but it is a massive advantage to play first. So I don't know how many occasions that's going to happen before the end of the season, but I think there is something when it gets to the last 6 or 8 games where maybe they should play together or on the same day. I don't know how that can work, because obviously you want to try and get every single game on, but I do think it's a big advantage. And Arsenal, Mikel Arteta before the game was asked by Patrick Davison whether it's an added pressure seeing your rivals win last night, and he said no, because we just need to do our job. That's the standard answer. It absolutely is a lot more difficult. You know, if Leeds get a goal last night in the 90th minute, Arsenal just lift themselves on a Saturday night and they've not even played. If City get over the line and win, you don't go down, you don't get down in the dumps or anything like that, but you just think, right, we definitely have to win tomorrow, you know what I mean? You've got no cushion, you've got no room for error. So, look, for them to respond like they have after that Wolves game and get the 2 wins, in difficult games, Tottenham, I know that Tottenham aren't playing well at the moment, but it's a North London derby and it should never be taken for granted. They had difficulties in that game in the first half where Tottenham got level. And then today, again, it was a scruffy game, but it doesn't matter. You're going to get moments like that. Mikel Arteta would want to see, I think, a bit more fluidity in his team, but Chelsea made it difficult for them. I thought Chelsea played well in the second half. I wanted to see more belief from Chelsea in the first half. We'll come on to them shortly. But for Arsenal, set pieces, those corners are they're a saviour, aren't they? I mean, they're a saviour in one hand because they are so good at them. They've mastered the art of set-piece delivery, of making the right runs, of confidence, of psychologically destroying the other teams before they even started. Almost teams are like sort of in panic mode. I felt sorry for Reece James, actually, specifically on corners, because he was given the task of blocking Gabriel, and I just think you're overcomplicating it. I know what they're trying to do with that. They're trying to get Reece James, who's quite stocky in build, to block him before he makes his run. But it becomes about a height thing in the end. And I just think that Reece James ordinarily would never pick up the best header of the ball in the opposition team. So why he's given that job, I don't know. Now, look, I remember many, many years ago playing football, I was once given the job of blocking Duncan Ferguson and blocking Les Ferdinand in games. They were two exceptional headers of the ball. And so I was given the job of wrestling them and fighting them and stopping them running, so that actually other players, Nemanja Vidic or one of the other centre-backs, could go and head the ball. It wasn't Nemanja Vidic, actually. It was probably in the Jaap Stam era or Gary Pallister era. But I was there to be sort of like stocky and sort of, if they were making a run from, say, the penalty spot, I was there to block. But after the first one, you could see that Reece James was struggling. So why don't you just put Chalobah onto Gabriel and just say, look, enough's enough. Let's not overcomplicate things. Let's not try and be clever. And that, to me, was a key aspect of the game. And Arsenal today, look, they've won, and that's all that matters. That is all that matters. And it's a tough game, and you're going to get games where you're not quite at your best. I still think that Mikel Arteta will want to see a bit more fluidity in open play and creating more chances. But I think they can really, to be fair, be quite happy tonight about where they are going into this sort of midweek game that they've got.
And around the whole wobble thing, which is actually now yesterday's news, last week's game at Tottenham, which was one thing, and this was a very different game today, it seems to me, you may or may not agree, that they have demonstrated actually quite a good degree of poise. It's like, they certainly the players, however nervous the crowd are, the players, to me, look a solid, coherent, with it bunch. Yeah,
they are. I mean, look, it was a wobble, because I think if you just sort of add up, I think it was Forest, Liverpool, the defeat against Manchester United, and then the draw v Wolves. The draw v Wolves off the back of those sort of three in the period of like 4 or 5 games, that is a major wobble for a title challenging team. So I don't think we're wrong to say it was a wobble and that, you're asking questions, but they've responded well. And you've got to make sure that when you're on a little run like that in a season like this, that you do come out of it. And it's very difficult when you're playing games every 3 days to maintain performance all the time. You just have to be physically strong, you have to be resolute, you have to be making sure that you win when you don't play well, and they've got that about them. It's a shock. I just heard a little bit of Saliba's interview on the pitch at the end of the game, and the way in which he talks about conceding that goal before half-time, he said that's not good enough, that's not what we do. They really do value clean sheets, they value their defensive work, they're really sort of like quite strict on it. I thought in the first 10 minutes of the game, Arsenal adapted well when Chelsea looked like they had something going on with Palmer in that pocket, but then they pushed Gabriel or Saliba in. So Arteta works. Arteta, to be fair to him, he sees danger. They do respect the defensive side of the game a lot. It's one of their strongest aspects, and they'll be disappointed with the goal they conceded at Tottenham last week, the goal they conceded at Chelsea today, because it's caused them a little bit of pain. And I actually thought Chelsea were doing well in that first 15-20 minutes of the second half, but they get in front. We'll come on to Chelsea and how they get in front in a minute, but they get in front and then they hang in there, and sort of at the end it was a little bit scary. But this crowd that are going to be coming in here for the next 10 weeks, there's going to be a few more of those. It's
interesting, you talk about game every 3 or 4 days. Obviously they've just had a week off, but that's very rare. If they go all the way, they've got a favourable FA Cup draw at Mansfield. They've probably got a favourable Champions League draw against Bayer Leverkusen. If they keep going through the rest of the season, they're going to have more games which aren't Premier League games than our Premier League games. So, I mean, how do you deal with all that when probably in the psyche of the average Arsenal fan, winning the Premier League is number one?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, because Mikel Arteta and this team need to win a trophy, they can't go and then just sort of, if they'd won loads of trophies in the last few years, you could definitely prioritise the Premier League. So if they'd won FA Cups, League Cups, won a Champions League, say, then you could say, right, okay, it's all in on the Premier League. But they're not in that position to be able to do that. And they have built a squad here where he's amassed a group of 22 players that you could have 2 different starting 11s if they were all fit. So that's why they've done that. They've got a great squad. And he's going to need to trust that squad. Bit of a worry that Declan Rice looked like he did something over in that far side and he came off early because he's the one player that you think they can't respond. But that's their fixture list there, by the way. I mean, March 4th, March 14th, 15th, 22nd, and obviously there's the big break, and then they go 11th, 18th, 25th. Is this the?
That's just Premier League.
Is that just Premier League?
Yeah.
And then you've got all those sort of FA Cup, Champions League games, and Carabao Cup final in between that as well, which actually is listed there. But you look at those league games, Arsenal are in a great position. They've got that big game at the Etihad, but they've got lots happening before that. I keep talking about that game. But look, it's been a good week for them. How he manages the squad whilst winning a trophy and making sure he wins this league. Because look, the Champions League, you can never just throw away the Champions League. And you're in a Carabao Cup final, so you have to play your best team in that. The Mansfield game's the one that they'll just completely change. I mean, he'll just have to risk, but that's a risk, that's a calculated risk. But this is the trophy they have to win. I think before the game, I don't know how many times we go over to that 2004. We go over to 2004 and say the last time Arsenal won the Premier League title was in 2004, and it's now 22 years. And I support a football club that went 26 years without winning it from sort of what it was, 1967, was it, to 1993? And you don't want that. I mean, that's too long for this football club to be. And they've got so close over this last 3 years. This is really the trophy that will transform this group of players and this manager. The Premier League title, it will transform them. It will be the one that people think, right, they are real. They've done it. So, and the Arsenal fans know that. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the run-in. It's close. They're up against Pep Guardiola, but you wouldn't want it any other way, would you? If you're going to win it, you'd want to go and beat the man that basically has always won it type thing. You want to make sure that everybody's there when you go and win it and you don't get it sort of handed to you as a gift. Not that they would turn that down, but you want to make sure you've come through it and you've withstood a title charge from Manchester City and you've been sort of in a neck and neck race and you've really sort of got that endurance and that mentality that you can look back upon and think, right, okay, we've done it, we are champions. So I think for me, it's an intriguing next 6 to 8 weeks. City are not going to make it easy for them, and last night they didn't have it easy themselves, but they got over the line. Yeah,
well, let's deal with City now, then. We can come back to Chelsea and the Champions League positions. What did you think of City last night? Leeds gave them a terrific game.
I think Leeds is I mean, that was an awkward one for City, and I think that Pep Guardiola, there's a clip of Pep Guardiola at the end of the game where he's got that little grin on his face. He goes like that, little kiss to the fans, and then he goes like that. And you don't see too much emotion, but we have in the last couple of weeks, haven't we, seen emotion from Erling Haaland, from Pep Guardiola, where they know what's happening here. They know they're applying pressure to a team who haven't got a great deal of experience in this race. And they'll be sat there tonight, Manchester City, thinking, they'll just be in their roast dinner thinking a little bit, when Chelsea nearly score in the last minute, they'll just be thinking that might be something that would help them. But look, it's in both their hands, isn't it? I mean, that's
absolutely is,
simple as that. It's in both their hands. So, Manchester City's players have been there before. They won't shirk it. But yeah, there's an interesting game going on because obviously Arteta's worked with Pep Guardiola, so there's a respect there obviously as well. But Pep Guardiola won't want to get beaten by anybody, let alone someone who's been his disciple at one point. And City, I thought last night, they're not at the best. They're not convincing. I don't know how many times we have to say this. They're not what they were a few years ago. Leeds had a good 20, 25-minute period where you just think they've got to score in that period. But then after that, City start to play. And Semenyo is a good signing, eh? He's a good signing. Gay and Semenyo, really good additions in that transfer window. That could be the difference for City at the end. If City do win it, you'd be looking at that transfer window and thinking that's where they just made the difference.
OK, so these Champions League places then behind the top two. I know you'll want to talk about Manchester United in a moment, but Chelsea are our immediate concern. And right now their concern is that they're the odd one out. They're 6th out of 5, as it were.
Yeah.
How are you reading that dynamic through Chelsea eyes in the first instance?
Do you know, I've never commentated on a team that make me feel so many different emotions during a game about what they are. You can watch them in a match and you can think they're naive. You can think they're too nice. You can think they're electric. You can think they're a great possession team. You can think, oh, they've got a lot of talent. You can think so many different things about. You can think they're ill-disciplined. And they're all those things. Because in the first half, I was watching them and thinking, come on. You're not making runs forward like it matters. Honestly, I think sometimes when I watch football players play, run like it's hurting you. You know what I mean? Run like it really matters. And when I watch Chelsea's players run forward in that first half, they're almost ambling forward. I think, no, that isn't going to get you in a game like this. That is not going to get you a victory. You have to really hurt. You have to run 99 times and not get it, thinking you're going to get it in that 100th time in these types of matches, making those runs in behind. Actually, the Chelsea corner that they got for the goal was when Neto makes a run across the line and makes the dart in, and it really makes a difference. I don't see enough of that. Runs that in behind without the ball, the ones that you're not going to get it, but your mate might get it, but you'll open space up for others. And they don't do enough of that at times in games, and they're too nice, and they're too possession-based, and they're too passive. And then I watch them in the second half, and I think the complete opposite of that. I think, oh, this is dangerous. These are a team. You know, you see them sort of getting on the half turn. You see James on that far side whipping it, and you see Hato making lots of runs forward down this left side. He was a lot more aggressive. You see Enzo Fernandez running forward with purpose alongside João Pedro, and you think, right, that's where you need to be, Enzo, in there. And there's in so many times during matches with Chelsea, you flip from thinking they're miles away and they're naive and they're nice and they're academy team to thinking, right, okay, you get a goalkeeper, you get an experienced centre-back, you put an experienced centre-forward into this group, and you could be in business. Now, they've got to keep players fit. But if Chelsea kept Reece James fit and the centre-backs fit, but added they need a top-class goalkeeper and a top-class centre-back that's experienced. And they need a top-class centre-forward to accompany João Pedro and Delap, not to replace them or get rid of them. Have 3 strikers, and one of them is João Pedro, very good. One of them is Delap, young, got a lot to prove, but he's got potential. And then bring someone in, and look, that's difficult. That's difficult because I'm sort of imagining that you can just go and pick them off a shelf. They're not there, are they? But they need a centre forward of experience. And I'm not talking about experience like he's in 33. I'm talking like 27, 28. Somebody at the back who's 26, 27, 28, who's got real presence and can bring that solidity for them. Or they've got to emerge out of what the pack they've got, but I'm not quite sure. I can't work them out sometimes. And then the goalkeeper, they do... look, I'm going to talk about the goalkeeper. He invites problems, Robert Sanchez. Every time I watch him play, I have my heart in my mouth. And then obviously on the goal, he flaps at it. So for me, Chelsea are 3 players. And I've thought that for a couple of years, to be fair, that they need those sort of what would be centre-forward, centre-half, centre-back, goalkeeper. And you think sometimes, they're not far away. But then you can watch other parts of the match and think they're miles away. And they've spent a fortune and they've wasted much of it. And it's weird watching them. And the ill-discipline is a thing. I mean, do you say 8 sendings off or...
That was 9 today.
9. Yeah. 9 sendings off.
7 in the Premier League.
And for Joe, something they're not like a team that bully others or sort of are aggressive, or it's just petulance, isn't it? And lack of thought, lack of intelligence, inexperience, whichever way you want to put it, dissent. You know, getting bookings for dissent, and then sort of like, you know, over on that far side, Neto making that challenge. He knows that Martinelli's good one-on-one. He's just got to run back, almost match him and follow him and just let him sort of cross it or try and block the cross. He can't get involved in there and going to ground. So just stupidity. And I think Chelsea would have had a good chance in the last 15 minutes. So look, I've got many different thoughts about Chelsea. It's almost like a jumble sale of thoughts, really. Because they make you feel like that in every single match and you can't work them out. I'm sure the manager's the same. He's just doing his interview here now. And I think in parts of games, he'll be thinking, I'm proud of this group of players. And in other parts of games, he'll be thinking, come on. And in other parts of games, he'll be thinking they're naive. In other parts of games, he'll be angry with them because they get sent off and they're ill-disciplined and they're costing them points. So all these different emotions. They've got an inexperienced manager as well. And they've got an inexperienced team. So yeah, I think there is some experience needed in the club, in the dressing room. But they've got some players that make you think, oof, they can play. They can play. But they're up against it, aren't they? They have got a game against Manchester United in a couple of weeks, or a few weeks.
And before that, this week, Gary, they've got a game at Villa. And, who are the other, you might say, vulnerable one in that group?
I think I said that, didn't I, on this podcast 3 or 4 weeks ago. I could sort of see this coming with Villa. They could get sort of pulled back into it. And they are getting pulled back into it. Interesting game midweek, Chelsea-Villa. Is it at Chelsea?
Villa.
At Villa. Interesting. I mean, Chelsea are 6 points off it. If Villa beat them, they're 9. I don't think Chelsea will get beat midweek. I don't think they will. I think that defeat today, sounds mad, this will give them a bit of confidence going into Wednesday, because I think they played quite well in parts of that game today, to be fair to them. I thought they were poor for the last half hour of the first half, and obviously they scored the goals before half time, but I thought they were really quite flimsy in that period of the game. But the goal gave them a little bit of something, and probably give the manager a little bit of something to say at half time to them. Are you going to play? Sometimes, as a manager, are you going to play or not? Are you going to run forward? Are you going to commit in this game? Are you going to show a bit of belief? And that's all it needs sometimes. It's not actual tactical information that sometimes players need. It's a case of, Enzo, are you going to run forward? Hato, are you going to make sprints forward and go forward at left back? And Reece, are you going to get forward and put some crosses in? And Cole, are you going to get forward and get on the heart? And he's almost asking the questions of them. Are you just going to let this game pass you by? Are you going to play in a football match and watch Arsenal just go and roll all over you and score from corners? So that's the type of thing that I think might not have been said like half time. I might be well off it. But that's what I would have been saying it. Maybe that's why I'm not a coach anymore. But I feel like that's what needed to be said to them. Come on. And yeah. So for Chelsea, big game in midweek. Villa look like they're, United, I think, level with them now on 51 points, aren't they? Liverpool are strong. Chelsea have got a bit about them. Interesting what's going to happen in this next few weeks. I think United play Villa definitely in a couple of weeks. United play Chelsea, I think, a few weeks after that as well. So it's all going to happen. And United do look like they're in the box seat.
You watched them today. Watched them today. How were they?
I thought Crystal Palace did really well in the first half. And look, it's interesting, these matches. I'm sure Michael Carrick tonight will be really happy. The big difference with Michael in this last few weeks is that in these difficult matches, and I'm talking about the Fulham game where United have to score late on through Sesko. They have to score late on at West Ham to salvage a point through Sesko. They have to score pretty late on against Everton in a difficult game where Everton had a mountain of corners with Sesko. And they've had to score today. They've had a little bit of luck today with, I say a bit of luck, but a bit of good fortune, I would say, getting the penalty and then the sending off, which means that obviously in these matches, Michael Carrick has got Manchester United over the line. But there are still moments in these matches, these types of opponents, West Ham of this world, Fulham's, Crystal Palace's at home, Everton away, where United still struggle against a team that plays a little bit deeper, which means that Manchester United can't play fully on the counter-attack. And it's interesting against Everton, they had to score an amazing goal on the counter-attack on Monday night. But Everton, to be fair, sat pretty much in that game. And Manchester United still find it difficult against teams that play deeper. And it's a struggle, but they weren't getting over the line in these games under Ruben Amorim. They are getting over the line now. And I have to say that the goal from Sesko is an absolute beauty. The header is a brilliant header. I love headers anyway. I said to you, I think last week my favourite ever goal was Cristiano Ronaldo's in Rome. But that was a proper header, that, from Sesko. And he's got his confidence. He started him today, which I think was always going to happen. And it's a big win. The controversial moment in the match was the sending off and the penalty. The penalty was on the edge, but you can see why that was given, because it was a little pull, but he sort of lets go and he sort of falls in. The sending off, I thought was harsh. I thought the sending off was harsh. We know that if you don't play the ball, that they can then say, they looked at it 5 or 6 times. I was in the truck behind watching it over in the compound over there. I'd have been really annoyed if it was my team and you got a man sent off for that. I think I've been probably a little bit annoyed about the penalty. So a little bit of a break in that moment. for Manchester United, and Michael Carrick takes that break. But yeah, tonight, Michael Carrick, he'll be fully focused, long way to go, really proud of his team getting over the line, but he'll understand that there are sort of issues that he'll be asking the question, how do I get them better? How do I get them better against these types of awkward opponents that just sit back against us a little bit more? How do I get us to... I mean, so they're amazing against Arsenal and Manchester City and against Tottenham. You think, whoa, that's an incredible performance. But most of it can be quite reactive to what City do. You can play on the counter-attack. And then Burmo, Cunha, Bruno, Mount, Sesko, Ahmad, they're amazing on the counter-attack. They're absolutely brilliant. How can we get to a point whereby we can dominate teams, sustain attacks in the final third, keep patience but with speed of play and tempo? I mentioned that earlier in this game today. The best teams are able to keep patient but look like they're playing quickly. Really sort of pushing it and shifting it quickly. And you think about the great Barcelona team, they kept it like you wouldn't believe, but they used to shift it all the time and pop it in and about each other, and you'd be like, almost like, how do they get to that? How did Manchester United get to that? And it's obviously very early on in Michael Carrick's days, but that's what he'll be thinking. Him, Steve Holland, will be sat there looking at these 4 matches. Everton away, West Ham away, Fulham at home, Crystal Palace at home, and thinking, they've just gone our way, those games. Whether it's for a win or for a draw, they've just gone our way. They've just flipped our way. But it wouldn't take much for them to flip the other way. So see the danger of that and think, how can we get better at that? Because it is something that Ruben Amorim struggled with. It's something that Erik ten Hag struggled with. It's something that Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer struggled with, where Manchester United won games quite well on the counter-attack, where they had less possession. But when they were actually dominant of the game in terms of 60% possession, or a team just sat off against them, how do we get good at that again? So you can play in different ways. Yeah, Manchester United are great on the counter-attack. They can compete. They can play without the ball. But actually, in a game whereby a team sits off against them, they can actually dominate possession and they can go and win games that way as well, which they are doing. But these games are probably 55-45 type victories. And that'll be the one thing that Michael takes from it. For Sesko, the confidence, the goals, the finishes, by the way, that he's put in. I mean, the Fulham, the West Ham, the Everton, the goals, they're 4 brilliant goals, by the way. And they're all different. They're all very different goals. One across the near post, one's a header, one's a counter-attack with a sort of side finish at the end. And then the Fulham one's the one on the turn, where he's got it into his feet and he's had to turn. So he's definitely improved enormously. Michael Carrick never picked him in the team, by the way, until today. That's the first time Michael Carrick has started him. So he's obviously had doubts about him in terms of, not being right or not being quite there. But what he seems to have done in the 4 or 5 weeks whilst having him sub is bring him on. And then he had that angry celebration, didn't he, against Everton? That was a celebration of a guy who would say, you better play me, by the way, now. And he has done. And that header today is really good. It's a proper header, that. So I think now he's working Sesko into form. Now that's a game changer for United, because they cannot have another centre forward come into the club and failing. They just can't. They can't keep bringing players to the club. And there are signs now with Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko. Mbeumo and Cunha look like United players, and they have done from the beginning. Just in terms of their confidence, their arrogance, their power, their strength, their ability to sort of always want the ball. Bruno obviously is a United player. But now if Sesko can grow and he looks physically better, he looks quicker, that is a big, big thing. If Carrick can get the best out of him, that means that you're basically in a situation whereby in the summer you can concentrate on other positions. The central midfield, Casemiro leaving. You can concentrate maybe on a full-back and a centre-back, because they do have problems in those positions still that need dealing with. But maybe now you just leave the forwards. You've got Bruno, you've got Mount, you've got Sesko, you've got Mbeumo, you've got Ahmad, you've got Cunha. Right, that's dealt with. They will cause problems against any team. Right, let's deal with the midfield. Let's deal with the sort of full-back or centre-back position. So I think Manchester United, what Michael's done in this last 5 or 6 weeks is, if you valued that squad under Ruben Amorim, he's doubled and tripled the value of that squad on paper. He's made players that you think, I'm not sure he's going to do it. I'm not sure he's, Kobbie Mainoo, is he going to play football again? All of a sudden, Kobbie Mainoo is a 50, 60 million pound midfield player. Sesko is a 70 million pound forward all of a sudden. You know, you're looking at people and thinking, actually, there's value there again. And that'll be something that obviously the owners will be happy about, because they're looking at sort of the money that they've spent over the last 5-10 years, and there's been so much wasted, it's untrue. But has there so much wasted been because of the performances? Is it because of the culture? Is it because of they're not bad players, these lads? Because when they sign, you're quite excited about seeing them. So, yeah, I think it's a complete transformation. And, yeah, work to do. I still think there are danger signs, because, like I say, the 3 or 4 of those games that I've mentioned, they could have flipped the other way. And if Manchester United were to lose 2, and all of a sudden Chelsea win 2, and Liverpool do, and Villa win a game, all of a sudden United back down. See, you've got to retain a little bit of composure, because there's been too many false dawns. But it's looking really good at the moment, and just a little bit of luck and good fortune's coming Michael's way as well, which is always helpful.
So just to finish in that context there with a little bit of a sort of mischievous pub question, of all the fixtures upcoming that you didn't mention, one that remains is Man United-Liverpool. Or Liverpool-Man United. There's one of those still to come.
Do we still have to play them?
You do. And so my mischievous question is...
Where's that at?
That'll be at
Old
Old Trafford.
Trafford, yeah. It's Old Trafford.
Third place. Who's? If you had to pick between United and Liverpool to finish third, who would you...
United have got difficult games, but they've got a free programme. They've got the momentum. They look dangerous. I actually think against the good teams, they're very dangerous on the counter-attack with Ahmad, Sesko, Mbeumo, Cunha, Bruno. So I actually think those games suit them. I think United will definitely finish third. But I'll probably sat here in 3 weeks on the Gary Neville podcast, which I said wasn't very good before, which is a bit in the game. No, I think United will finish third. And I can't believe I'm saying that from where we were 6 weeks ago. But I just think they've got no distractions. They've got something good going. The momentum's with them. All the teams have got difficult games. They've all got difficult games. They've all got a challenge in front of them. I think United finish third. I think Liverpool finish fourth. And I think Chelsea will finish fifth. I hope Villa finish in the top 5. I really do. And look, I've said before, their manager is an experienced, wise guy. And if they get some players back, but the midfield players being injured have cost them a bit in the last few weeks. And I just feel like it'll be Chelsea, Manchester United and Liverpool. The only doubt will be Chelsea or Villa. Chelsea or Villa for fifth is my view. I think it's United, Liverpool, Chelsea or Villa.
Grand.
What do you think, Peter?
Oh, gosh. I'm not here to have an opinion, Gary.
You could have an opinion, though,
if there's a fence, I'll sit on it. But I am actually, despite myself, inclined to agree with you about... I'm sad about Villa.
Yeah, I am a little.
And listen, I am absolutely going to sit on the fence with Manchester United, Liverpool, which clearly you can't, but I can, because I don't want to get involved in that row. Yeah. But reluctantly, I have to say, it was obviously a horrible Friday night for them, wasn't it, at Wolves? And and they've had their midfield ripped out. Which is terrible bad luck.
Yeah,
and they want to win the Europa League, by the way, which is a big deal for them.
Yeah, and their manager loves winning the Europa League. That getting injuries like they have in midfield has killed them a lot. Michael Carrick's had Harry Maguire come back. He obviously had Alessandro Martinez come back for a few games. He had Mbeumo and Ahmad come back from AFCON. So he's had some good fortune in terms of players coming back for him. And Unai Emery has lost players. And look, injuries will be a big factor. The other competitions will be a big factor. But at the moment, they're in danger. They're vulnerable, Villa, in terms of the Champions League places.
Yeah. Lovely stuff, Gary.
Thanks,
Thank
Peter.
you very
Thank
much.
You.
Take care.
Stumble this week. Sorry, couldn't resist.
We have some positive.
All right, okay.
Former teams,
but nobody saw this coming, you'd have to say, against Nottingham Forest. Did it surprise you, that result against them?
I was working for the club at Leeds United at the weekend, and they had to show a desire, a fight, a different way of getting results. It was a tough ending. They started obviously on the back foot, then found the way. So away from home is where you felt if City were going to go on and win the title, they're going to have to show improvement, a more consistent sort of level of performance and more control, because teams now feel like they can come at them, they can have a go. But obviously at home, I felt they'll be safe, they'll be right in the right position. So this is a real shock. But against a Forest side who are obviously fighting for their lives, they've got good quality in players, a manager bounce also. This is a big, big shock. You can talk about decisions, you can talk about things not going for you, but when you're going for the title, you're playing against a team towards the bottom, decisions really shouldn't be a worry. Yes, it certainly is a big factor for it in games, but you had to do enough to actually see the game out.
It feels like the pressure isn't really on City, though, this season, because it feels like nobody's really expecting them to do it. Do you think that's the case? What do you think about their ability to chase down Arsenal? Do you think they can?
Well, I think if you ask that man who've just listened to the interview and you say there's no pressure on Manchester City, he gives pressure, he's born about pressure, he delivers winning
pressure,
sides throughout many, many seasons. You can be right at the top with a 20-point gap. There is still pressure playing for Pep Guardiola and this Manchester City Football Club now that's developed into serial winners. And that's just a given. You know, he drives the players every day, whether it be Erling Haaland, whether it be Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne. He's not afraid to make decisions to drop players, whether you're right at the top or whether you're fighting. So they'll have been quietly in that sort of group of players saying, just keep the pressure on, keep ticking over. Arsenal have got away a couple of times and then come back with some of their results. And then it was on. Then it's all is, where is that game? When are Arsenal coming to the Etihad? Then it's in your hands. This has changed it. Now we're going to rely on Arsenal. I do feel like there's one more twist, but for Manchester City, they're going to have to go with obvious reasons right now with wins in every single game.
Yeah. And is it worse to be chasing, or I don't know what that feels like, you know?
I think for Mikel Arteta, he's nervous with every situation because at the start of the season, supporters were saying, you know, even former players, if he doesn't do it, this is it. He's got to go. And I'm thinking maybe I'm a little bit soft, a little bit sort of understanding because of the level of competition. And he's done an unbelievable job. Now he's getting sort of question marks asked about whether it's his style of play, are they doing enough, are they game management? But he's right there. So at this moment now, he'd take it, obviously leading all day long. What I feel like he's always needed is a bit of a gap rather than really, really close. And that pressure game in April against City at the Etihad, he'll be a lot more comfortable today, I am sure.
What about that game against Brighton? They did the dirty work, didn't they? Is that sort of performance, does it matter? It's a winning one. Is that a title-winning performance, do you see from that side?
I think we can look at title-winning teams. We could say about Manchester United with Fergie time, where they just kept grinding out results, whether it be a clean sheet, whether it be find a way to win, to get through it. You go in that dressing room afterwards and ask him whether was it a performance that wasn't really us. We needed to do better. Of course they had to do better. Of course they had to have more control and create more. But that is something that he's finding a greater determination in his team. Different ways of winning, goalkeeper staying down, bending the rules, game management, etc.
Where do you stand on that time wasting? Is it good?
I would never have done anything like that.
Obviously, I can't imagine.
I would never have bent the rules or got into trouble in any way, as you know. But of course, listen, I made decisions that weren't right. But the time wasting, whether it's the right arm, whether it's the left arm, I think this is a step too far. I think that's a lot of people's opinions. I think Brighton certainly have that. And some people would say when you go too far, be careful what you wish for. Sometimes it could come back and haunt you slightly. But they're in a great position. I think he's managed to keep that fight. He's got that determined look about him. Whether he goes a little bit too far at times, whether it be in the technical area, with officials, he just wants to get this over the line, and then it will change him. He will be a better person for it. He'll always have that fire, Mikel Arteta, and I think I really think he's done an unbelievable job to turn Arsenal. They've spent a lot of money for certain, but a lot of supporters are still critical. We all want to win. We all have to deliver at some point. That's why we're in the business, and maybe it's his year. But that guy next to him, I think, as we know, finds different solutions, changed his system again. So having the two strikers, split strikers in different ways, even moving Erling Haaland out of a number 9 into a split with two, just occupying that back line of defensive units to create more in the middle. again, we're seeing something different from Pep Guardiola. And if he was to deliver the title or a Champions League win, we've seen something special again from him. From a team as well that haven't necessarily got the full resources that they had before to win titles, the weaker in certain positions. Great recruitment in the window we've seen with Antoine Semenyo and Mark Guéhi. But yeah, it's all for Arsenal to lose now.
Is that what we witnessed throughout his career? Just absolute genius from Pep Guardiola. Because we listen to managers, especially today. A lot of the press conferences coming through, and managers saying that they're not playing the way that I want them to play. But he just finds a way to win games, doesn't he? He changes things up all the time.
Well, he does. And do you know when he first come to this country, you would say we total football. And then we'll say it was amazing, and then it changes the goalkeeper, and we have to build, we have to do that, we have to find a formula to go. Then we're seeing midfielders go and play in full-back. Then we're seeing sort of bounce passes and drawing people in. Then we'll say City later on in games holding it in the corner for long periods, going direct. You can't play short for the last 20 minutes. We've seen different midfielders coming off the line. We've seen City winning a league without a natural number 9, with a false 9. He's done everything. He's delivered. He's found a way to sort of divert away from some of his beliefs to find a formula, and he's doing that again now. And when you say about different managers, different coaches, the person who's ahead of him at this moment in time learned everything from Pep Guardiola. And by the way, Mikel was there from morning till noon, right till the end of the day, the last one to leave in that training ground at CFA, learning, realising how to be a better coach. Even the players will tell you from Manchester City how hard he's worked to get into this position before he's even gone into his Arsenal tenure. So someone for me looking and saying what he's gone and done and watched and waited, he deserves this opportunity, because he's learned from the best in Pep Guardiola. So many coaches now are following. And it's going to be a sad day. It's coming soon, isn't it, where Pep Guardiola is going to leave us. And then what will we talk about of the great Pep Guardiola of his different styles? And Mikel Arteta could maybe find it a little bit easier, but he's not finished yet. I think that's the point. Yeah,
I would agree with that. And just with Arsenal in particular, how tough is it for them at the moment? Because they are fighting on all 4 fronts. I mean, obviously, they've got to meet them, haven't they, in that Carabao Cup final, which could actually...
We're waiting for the Champions League as well, but that's gone away. But the Cup final's coming as well. And they're going to be great encounters because they know each other so well, and both managers or coaches are being able to adapt and change. So in-game changes, whether they go man-to-man or they go high press, they all now seem to have the other answer quite quickly to change. And that's where when you're watching it, it's fascinating. And sometimes it's not always clear what we're seeing, but they both react. And that's why it's not always clean or as fluid as you would expect. But they're going to be great games. I'm looking forward to them, working on both of them. So it's special football matches. But what Arsenal have done now, I think, at the start of the season when we looked and we said the strength and depth, their recruitment, their bench, the players behind, the choices that Mikel's got is so much stronger than it was. And that's what's been able to look on all fronts. And I feel like they've had that experience. Last season, I fancied them in the Champions League to go on and win it. And they're in a great position.
They win the Premier League, don't they?
Do they?
I'm just asking.
I can't argue with you. There's only 2 there. That's just gone away. It's gone tight. I think it was all the way, wasn't it? And I wanted that. I wanted to see that game at the Etihad where it was in the balance, where everything was riding on it, and it still could. It still could come back. But I think because of the, they got their game in quite quick. You look with Arsenal, but City's game against Palace now might not be rearranged for later.
Yes,
we might see the twist of that coming to light. We need to get to that. Pep Guardiola's got to win every single game. He's got to beat Arsenal. And then Mikel Arteta, they're just scraping through, aren't they? They're just getting the results.
So who did you say was going to win again?
Yeah, I was saying it's really in the balance still, and I'm still waiting. But I'm hoping Manchester City find the answer. But do you know what? And former Spurs player, not necessarily was saying it's the rivals in Spurs for Arsenal to go and do it, but not necessarily. For Mikel Arteta, for what I've watched the journey and watch him fight and watch what he's done, you know, I think he's been a revelation. I think he's done a fantastic job, changed ways, whether it be the total football following Pep, now being hard to beat in a different way. So he would deserve it.
What has happened tonight? And first of all, let's look at the broader picture of the title race in the Premier League, because it feels, Lee, and of course for Joby, who's watching the City game, City drawing 2-2 at home to Nottingham Forest. Twice they led, twice Nottingham Forest pegged them back. We'll talk about the importance of that point for Nottingham Forest. But Arsenal, Lee, once again got the job done. And you feel in terms of this title race, the gap now 7 points, that tonight might be the turning point for Arsenal and ending this long wait.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, looking at other results around, and the Man City one in particular that are chasing them down, yeah, you would think so. And I think it was, you know what, I think it was more of a dogged performance for Arsenal today. I really do. And I know that we've said this time and time again before, where they've defended really well. I mean, 2 shots on target, it's not good enough. My only concern is with Arsenal is that when they go 1 goal up, they're happy to sit back and try and soak up pressure, hit teams on the counter-attack, but they didn't really do that enough, and the quality wasn't quite there for me for Arsenal in that forward area. I mean, the Saka goal comes out of absolutely nothing, so, you know, massive credit to the way they defended. Declan Rice was like a centre-half. It was like 3 centre-halves. You've got your full-backs that were sitting in deep. They literally were compact. Brighton probably dominated more of the football, and probably should. With a bit more quality, I've asked more questions of them, but they just didn't. And that was the unfortunate thing why they didn't get anything out of the game.
You know the sitting back, Lee? You know the sitting back business? It's not a directive from Mikel. That will be subconsciously, they think, they don't even believe they're doing it. And they just do it because they think we need to protect. We need to protect something, especially later on, the clock's ticking. I guarantee you, I certainly was one. I had a crick neck all the time. When you're in the title running, you're like that. You're like this. You're looking at the time, and it's not moving. It's not moving, and it doesn't go down. And you're just praying that you get to the final whistle, and you just automatically just sit there. You know it's not correct. Yeah. The manager will get you in Monday or tomorrow, and he will just say, "Listen, you can't do this. You need to do it." But it's really difficult.
I did see that a lot today, and like you said, I think Declan Rice probably didn't realise he was playing as a centre half today, because the times that Brighton had good possession and good moments in the game, you felt that they were throwing more bodies forward. It was forcing Arsenal back. But that's where I have to give Arsenal credit where credit's due, as Tim says. You know, being in that situation, knowing what it's all about, you need them players who are going to stand up and win headers and win second balls.
And listen, all that matters, we can talk about being unconvincing as long as we like. The only thing that will matter to an Arsenal fan tonight is the top of that table. They'll see a 7-point lead. And crucially, because heading into tonight, the gap was 5 points. It was in both of their hands because, of course, they meet in a few weeks' time. It's now in Arsenal's hands, isn't it?
Well, it is, and this is what I think Mikel Arteta, I'd love to hear what he's got to say about the game overall, but I can tell you something. I mean, he'll be thrilled, obviously, with the results that are in and around the top two, with Man City not getting the result that probably we all expected them to get. But the fact that his team were solid, they were compact, they were hard to break down. He knows that the games that are coming up are pretty much crucial. I mean, you're looking at the likes of Everton, they've got at home, you know, Bournemouth. You know, these are games where you think that, yes, you know what, this is where they can add more.
So would you fully expect the lead either to still be 7 points heading into that City game, or perhaps even more?
I think so. I think it will be. Listen, I don't see City dropping loads of points, but seeing...
But we didn't think that tonight, did we?
Well, I'd seen them concede 2 goals, you know, at home to Forest. You know, you completely say that the 2 different complexes of the sides is that Arsenal have got that dogged deep defending, haven't they?
What it does, it takes a lot of pressure off Arsenal for that match in particular now, and knowing how Arsenal have done it so far, they do not need to go and win that game now.
And also the League Cup final as well. So we talk about the psychological impact of, say, being beaten in that. It just eases the pressure on that one a little bit as well.
Absolutely, which I think fits in with what they've done. And listen, we all sit here and say they've got to be more convincing, but actually, whatever level you're playing at, you know, to go and win a league, you actually sometimes finally get more belief from these types of wins tonight when you haven't been at your best and you grind one out. And the more you do that over the course of a season, you sort of come off out the dressing room, you actually look at yourself sometimes, how do we win that tonight?
And the only thing you want to be convincing is the lead over your rivals in terms of points. And we can say 7 points is a convincing lead at this stage of the season.
Well, they've done that more this season than a Manchester City tonight, the game that I covered. You know what I mean, Simon, where they haven't quite blasted teams away, maybe been a bit, but they've got the job done. That's why they've got the lead that they have.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the season, that is all that matters.
That's why that graphic, the traffic light graphic, doesn't mean too much.
No.
You know, not at this stage of the season. We just had proof of that tonight with Nottingham Forest, because the teams in green are fighting for their lives. And even the teams in green who are not, and we feel like they're relegated,
here's the traffic light
up
again.
a fight. Like, I know they're not playing Wolves, but look at the Wolves' performance recently. Yeah. Whoever's got to play Wolves between now and the end of the season, I know these teams haven't. They've got a tough game now because they're putting themselves in the shop window to try and keep yourself in the Premier League next year at a different side.
And for City, suddenly those next two, West Ham away. They get a win tonight, and then Chelsea.
Don't worry if they're yellow, green, or red. It does not matter. Just concentrate on getting maximum points in the game, and don't read into it. If the fans look at this, and they might enjoy it, it's a great graphic, by the way. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but what I'm saying is, don't read too much into it.
Our producer did something. They've worked really hard on it.
I look, it looks perfect.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted it to be called the traffic light graphic, but we'll take it. Listen, how did City blow that win? Because twice they led against Forest, and we'll talk about what this means for Forest, rightly so, in just a minute. But how did they twice blow a lead at the Etihad tonight?
Well, it's funny, Si, because I think we've seen both teams probably tonight has summed up their season a little bit, and I think City have shown what we know City can do, quality, Cherky for the first goal, brilliant.
Oh my word.
He hasn't spoken for 5 minutes, so he wants to get involved.
It sounded like a car starting.
Yeah, I know. And then just those vulnerabilities that we have seen this season, and Forest didn't have much of the ball, but when they did have it, they were effective. And what you need to do to go and win there is find that moment of quality, which they absolutely did with Morgan Gibbs-White's finish and then Elliot Anderson as well. So be really disappointed for Manchester City having so much of the game, but not being able to finish off what should have been 3 points tonight. So
I loved how they play football. I think there was only one team who tried to play football today, and therefore I'm proud how they did it. Did you see in the Premier League game a goalkeeper going down 3 times? No. We can't control these kind of things. I think therefore the Premier League has to find the rule. If the referee allow everything, then it's difficult. Then they make their own rules. So at the moment I have the feeling they are doing their own rules. I will never be that kind of manager who tries to win in that way. Everyone here in the room, did he really enjoy this football game? I'm sure maybe one raises his arm because he's a big Arsenal fan. But beside that, no chance. Where will this go in the future? That's my question. Where will this go? Like at one point, one game we play 60-minute netto time, and then when you play against Arsenal only 50 minutes, then it's 10 minutes different. So is this for what the supporters are paying for? You get my point?
Well, the tensions continued after the match, and Carragher posting on social media +3 with the shushing face emoji. And Arteta saw Hertzler's comments coming.
What a surprise.
Would you like to expand on that?
No. I mean, you just go back for the previous games and you will find a lot of comments like this always. So,
do you feel like that?
I love my players. That's what. That's the highlight. I love my players. We love our players, and I love the way we compete.
Do you feel like there's a lot of anger aimed at your players from externally, though?
I think they love our players. I mean, every time they talk about our players, I think they are the most loved ones in the country.
Do you care what other managers say?
Care?
Yeah.
Depends.
On the manager?
Yeah, and the comments. Yeah.
Another thing that Fabian said was there's only one team here that tries to play football today. Is that unfair? Because at the end of the day, it's about getting 3 points.
Next question.
Well, Arsenal can take another step towards the title when they take on Everton at the Emirates. That's live on the Saturday Night Football.
After 3 league defeats in a row at St James's Park, they've beaten Manchester United, so Michael Carrick's unbeaten start comes to an end in his 10th game in charge. But bear in mind, Newcastle United down to 10 men by the end of the first half, and Jacob Ramsey was sent off for a second yellow card. So they played the whole of the second half down to 10 men, but they've done the job. They've got the win. How did they do it, Clinton?
They've done it because they've got a brilliant and outstanding manager, and it makes me laugh when a few results don't go his way. and people being critical of Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe, for me, when Thomas Tuchel probably moves on eventually, he'll be the England manager. There'll be lots of people looking for Eddie Howe, that's for sure. But I think tactically he got it spot on. When they go down to 10 men, the changes that he made and the work rate these players run through a brick wall for their manager. And credit to Eddie Howe. As I said, the results haven't gone well for them, last 3 or 4 results. But tonight they were outstanding to a man. And Man United, nowhere near good enough. You bring on the young boy, Will Asula, and you're thinking, can he go and produce that bit of magic? Everyone here thought he was going to just run it into the corner. But he said, nah, I've got other ideas. I'm going to do a step up. And the finish is top class. What a finish. And they thoroughly deserve it. Man United were nowhere near good enough, and Newcastle were outstanding.
Yeah, and it's his first league goal for Asula since the game against Liverpool in the Premier League way back in August. It was a fabulous finish and a really key result, this, for Newcastle United, because when you look at their season in the next couple of games, Manchester City at home in the FA Cup 5th round.
Big game.
And then in the first leg of the last 16 of the Champions League, it's Barcelona at home on Tuesday. To go in, having done that tonight, with one half of the game down to 10 men, is massive going into those 2 games.
Yeah, it will give them confidence. Do I think they've got a chance to get into them Champions League? I'm not quite sure, because I think they're getting cut adrift. Even though this is a big 3 points, I think their best chance of some silverware.
But you wouldn't have wanted to go into those games.
No, you can't go into those games. But I think the cup competitions are massive for them. I think they've got an opportunity in the Champions League, you know, to at least get to the quarterfinals. And I honestly think that the FA Cup is against Man City. It's a big game now, because obviously what's happened to Man City tonight is even bigger game. But that's where they got to put all their eggs in that basket. But you're right, a win like this, playing with 10 men as well, 10 men losing Ramsey, who was key for them in the first half, losing him. Yeah, it's obviously it was disappointing. Why have I still got the commentary in my ear? But yeah, obviously, as I said, it was really disappointing to lose him. But I thought, to a man, they were outstanding. And the changes he makes, he takes off Barnes, he brings on Willett to, you know, stiffen up the midfield, and then he leaves Elanga and Gordon on and says, you two just go for it. And then he makes changes. He brings Murphy and Asula on, 2 like-for-like players who want to run into the channels. And I thought they were outstanding. And, you know, sometimes you look at things and you say, your manager's under pressure. Are these players still playing for you? 100% they're all playing for Eddie Howe. He's a fantastic manager.
And did Ramsdale back up Howe's decision
Let
to
me
swap
tell you
keepers
something.
tonight?
Just before that, because I couldn't tell you before that, because Asula scored that unbelievable goal. Xerxes came on and he hit like those knuckle shots where the inside of his foot, which was going top corner. The save from Ramsdale is outstanding. He tips it around for a corner. So just like Asula scoring that is such an important save. Yeah, and he's justified because he made 2 or 3 big saves to keep them in it. So Nick Pope for now is going to have to sit on the bench. But I'm glad for the young man, Asula. He hasn't given a lot of opportunities with Voltemade and Vissa there. So big opportunity now. And yeah, every time he gets an opportunity, he's got to come on the pitch and make a difference. He's done that today. That's probably Newcastle's goal of the season.
Yeah, and what a performance as well.
Harry Maguire went off on Sunday, whenever it was. Are they available for tomorrow?
Well, we're hoping so. We're working towards it. They weren't feeling too good, so we've still got a bit of time to the game, and we'll just have to see how they feel. So we'll obviously give them every chance.
I mean, is it kind of illness? Neither of them were injured or anything like that?
No, it wasn't injury, no. They just both of them weren't feeling too good. So yeah, it's one of them things really, but we'll just have to see how they are today and tomorrow morning.
Just in terms of the form of the team, which has obviously been outstanding, when you were here with Ollie, obviously the team did very well, and then there was a drop-off towards the end of the season. And when you were at Middlesbrough, you also did really well at the start, and then the results didn't match that at the end of the season. You didn't achieve what you wanted to. Is there any way of guarding against that?
Football's a tough game to get results anyway, so I think yeah, of course they're learning. I learn, you know, always learning and you know, things that as you go through, and you could maybe have done a little bit different, done a little bit better, not specifically at them times, just in general really. So yeah, there's a lot of context and depends on the players, the group of players, what the games all look like. You know, there's so many different things coming into it. I think it's not so much guarding against it. I think it's just living in the moment and staying in the moment and keep grounded, you know, and down to earth in terms of understanding what it takes to win games. And I've said that since I kind of came here, and not getting carried away. And we certainly won't get carried away. I think you got to feed off the confidence and you know, understand that runs of wins are hard to come by, but we're hungry for more for sure, and we need to try and make it as long as it can last and stay consistent.
Sorry to take you back to a subject that's been hot this weekend, grappling inside the penalty area, Michael. Has it gone too far, and do you think anything can be done about it? What can be done?
I think it's gone too far, yeah. I think it wasn't long ago where, you know, we were kind of told that you couldn't really lay a hand on anybody in the box, and it was going to be stamped kind of out and clamped down on. And it's crept in, it's gone stronger. I think obviously the success of set pieces, corners in particular, probably in terms of being able to put so many bodies close together, has made more teams do it because the success rate is so high, you know. So it's understandable why there's so many teams trying it and doing it. But yeah, in terms of as a game, and it doesn't feel that we've kind of got that balance right. So I don't know what is to do about it. It's not for me to decide that really, but you know, in the meantime, you got to deal with what's in front of you, and if it's allowed, then you got to play to it.
Just on the game itself at Newcastle, you're obviously in confident mood now. You, the players, everything. The fans talk about Champions League qualification. It's very much in your own hands now, isn't it? You've got 10 games to go, and you've got to play the likes of Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool. That's a big plus for you, isn't it?
Yeah, again, not looking too far ahead in terms of the games and where we're trying to get to. I think it's really important that we stay present and keep our minds on the job. It's an incredibly tough place to go to get a result. Newcastle, you know, been there many times and know it well. So we're fully aware of that. So I'm not really looking. We haven't had conversations about it. We're not looking too far ahead. We understand this where we are. I think it was a good step for us at the weekend there, and there'll obviously be a good boost that comes from that, whether that's energy-wise, whether that's confidence-wise, and just total belief from it. But it doesn't mean that we can start ifs and buts further down the line. I think we're in a good position, and we've kind of earned it. Boys have earned it, and we've got to try and make the most of it from now on in.
Michael, you now have the best form of any team in the league since you took over. Have you surprised yourself with what this team's achieved, given it's the same group of players that were here before?
I wouldn't use the word surprised. I think we always strive to win games, you know, and as I've just said, understanding that it's difficult. But again, not looking too far ahead, you know. I think if you stay, every game's winnable. I think both teams will come into it and think the same thing. If you can stay that and go step by step, try and be consistent with it, and then we feel we give ourselves a chance of doing that. I think coming in at the start, it was quite quickly one game at a time again, and I think that's the only way, you know. It's when you're in it and you live in it and you've got to perform, and the boys have got to be in a good frame of mind to be able to put performances together. I think the only way to do it and give yourself the best chances to stay in the moment, and it's for everybody else to get involved in the discussions maybe of what ifs and buts and bigger picture type of thing. It's not for us right now, and we're happy, you know. We're happy with the way things have gone. Still think we can do certain things better, which is a really good place to come from, but winning games is a good feeling, a good habit to have, and got to keep staying hungry with that.
There was so much discussion before you came in about sort of deep-rooted issues at the club and so on. When you've come in and you've worked with this group of players, did you see the signs in there that this run of form was possible?
Again, I didn't get too far ahead in terms of what was possible at that stage. You know, it was we had to get to work quickly and put things into practice and try and be fair to the players, to give them the right information and the right balance to go into the next game was the first thing. But yeah, listen, I know some of the players. I know some of the players, or have done more than others. Now I've got to know everybody, and I think it's a really good group. I think they're talent-wise, ability-wise, I think the boys have showed that what they can do. And then there's that balance of good habits, good behaviours, and actually looking after each other. And there's certain times we've got to really dig in and show that good spirit and team spirit. So I can't speak highly enough of the players at the moment.
Johnson.
Michael, word on Bruno, yet again leading the way, spearheading, goal, assist. Where does he rank for you in Manchester United focals of all the great midfielders you've had? And is it surprising for you? And secondly, how much would you have liked to perhaps play behind him in that little pocket?
Yeah, I'll be honest, there's not loads more I can add to what we've already talked about Bruno. You know, he's been here for such a long period of time now, and had success in different ways, and certainly individually shown exactly what he's all about, you know, in terms of responsibility, showing up, being there, facing everything for the ups and the downs, and that, I think that sums up Bruno as a character, you know, and his consistency over such a period of time. So in terms of where he ranks in club history, that's not for me to get involved in, and it's irrelevant. But I think he's been a major plus and a fantastic signing for when he came in, and the impact that he's had since he's been here, and I'm sure that'll continue.
And a word on your counterpart in tomorrow's game, Eddie Howe, British manager who's had great success. How much respect have you got for the job he's done in recent years? Yeah,
huge amount of respect for Eddie and his staff. Know some of them particularly well, so it's, and obviously been from there originally, and it's something that I've kept a close eye on. So he's done a great job. The levels of success and periods that he's brought to that football club, and the feeling that he's created around the whole area is incredible. So yeah, I just think he's a top manager, top coach, and he'll continue having success, I'm sure.
Right, thanks everyone.
All right, cheers guys.
Didn't hold back in his criticism of Liverpool's performance, describing it as slow, predictable and sloppy with poor, wrong decision-making. Those comments were put to Arne Slot.
So slow or predictable are words that I can understand he uses. But if you want to go faster, you have to be able to dominate situations on the sides. Because then something can happen, and we struggled to dominate on the sides today.
Send us your voice notes on whether this is the worst defeat for Liverpool under Arne Slot, and whether the manager needs to change direction. Get those into us ASAP. We're here until midday, of course. Good morning to Jamie O'Hara. Right, is it the worst for you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, it's not a great result, that's for sure. I mean, you're playing bottom of the table team, but Wolves deserved the win. I thought Wolves were really good, and I think over the last few weeks, Rob Edwards has turned a bit of a corner with this side. And obviously, look, they're cut adrift, they're going to go down. So it looks terrible because Wolves are bottom of the table. But I thought they fully deserved it, Tom. They played well. Liverpool was shocking. They really were poor, Tom. They were played so flat. I mean, exactly what Van Dijk said. Predictable, sloppy. They were flat, slow in possession. Didn't get tight, didn't press. This rock and roll football that I used to watch under Liverpool, it was so good to watch. Just non-existent now.
Right. One, should Slot get back to that? But two, can he get back to that?
I don't think that's his style.
It's not easy, is it?
Well, I don't think that's his style. I think we're now seeing that is Slot style is not that. It's a possession-based style of football, slow. He's never going to get back to what Jurgen Klopp did. Last season, they had a bit of a mix. They were compact. They didn't concede goals, but they still had a bit of Jurgen Klopp about them in the way that they broke on teams and they done things quick. This season's been the complete opposite. This is an Arne Slot team, Arne Slot formation, Arne Slot tactics. And I think, really, they've gone way down in terms of what they were and where they were as a football team. And I think they're poor. I really do.
But how is that possible when you spend, I mean, literally hundreds of millions of pounds on players in the summer? When you do that, how can you be criticised for being boring?
Well, because they are boring. I mean, when you
how do you become boring?
Well,
when you spend all of that money on attacking players.
Yeah, but Isak got injured, so that's
fair enough.
And he was not at it, right? But Luis Diaz left. Luis Diaz is one of their best players. He left, and you got Cody Gakpo playing out there. He ain't good enough. He's an average player in the Premier League. He's not going to... Ekitike, he's come in, I like him, he's the star. You know, but when you look at the players that they've brought in, Frimpong's not better than Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Kerkez ain't better than Andy Robertson. So if you look at the team, it's not any better, apart from that you say that Isak is one where you hope that he will be a future star for them. Salah's dropped off, Van Dijk's dropped off, the whole team's dropped off. So, yeah, they've spent money, but I don't think they've actually improved the squad. Like, I think they've got new players in because they're thinking that maybe other players are going to, you know, maybe go down. But look, they've been so reliant on Salah to produce. But, Tom, I have to say, forget about, like, the players that they've got, because they have got good players. They have got good players. But I'm amazed at how slow they play. It's so slow to watch. It's so predictable. Like when I used to watch Liverpool play, they'd win the ball back, bang. They'd get it out to Salah. They'd stick it into players. Luis Diaz, get him. High press. Fullbacks bombing on. Making things happen. Trent would get it. First instant, bang. Can I put Salah in? Now, sideways, backwards, you know, and I'm standing there. Frimpong gets the ball last night time. I was watching the game. Frimpong gets the ball, and Salah is standing there waiting. Put me in. Give me the ball. Put me in. And everyone's moaning about Salah and his performances, and he ain't been good enough. But give the best players the ball. Salah's one of your best players. Ekitike's your best player. Give them the ball all the time. First instant, where are they on the pitch? Can I stick it into them? Can we play forward? Yeah, mate, it's so slow, Tom. It's painful to watch.
But you can work on that on the training ground, can't you?
Well, yeah, but if that's not the manager's style, if the manager's style is to be this slow build-up, possession-based football, where you move the ball around and you try and find little areas and pockets, and well, then in the end it becomes boring. Liverpool are boring. They are a boring team to watch. And I used to love watching Liverpool play. This is one of the most boring Liverpool teams I've seen in the last 10 years.
Well, worryingly for them, if Chelsea win tonight, they are away at Aston Villa, which isn't easy, but Chelsea would go above them.
Yeah.
So how much is the Champions League qualifications in jeopardy for Liverpool?
Well, massively, because if you look at, you know, tonight's obviously a big game for Chelsea. You know, if you look at the league table, you know, Chelsea have got that game in hand on them to go above them. Aston Villa have dropped off, we know that. They've got injuries with McGinn and Tillman's been out. Man United are flying. So you'd have to say that last spot is up for grabs. And who's going to get it? And at the moment, look, Aston Villa could really drop out. They need to figure out to pick up some results. Because if they fall out of the Champions League spots after the season that they've had, they'll be devastated. But I think Chelsea are a better team than Liverpool, I do. At this moment, I think they've got better players.
We've got the Opta supercomputer, which we all like to see, can show us what they think the top six is going to be. We can show it now and see what it says. It's got Liverpool finishing in fifth place.
No, I disagree with that.
Only just from Chelsea. It's actually got Villa going into third above Manchester United. So that's, and he's got Arsenal winning the league, which, of course, we
well, that's completely wrong. Who's put that out there? I mean,
well, we're going to be talking about that a lot later, of course. That's the supercomputer, by the way, by Opta. Right, we'll be getting the views of Liverpool supporters shortly, but first, here's how you get involved in the Finalysis app.
Finalysis has partnered with Sky Sports to empower fan opinion. On the Finalysis app, you share your player ratings, your manager ratings, and your opinions on everything to do with your club, so that Sky Sports can put fan opinion at the heart of their football coverage. Scan the QR code to download the Finalysis app.
Oh, joined by Liverpool fan Montel Bowen now. Good morning to you, Montel. For people who maybe don't watch this show every day, even before Christmas, you were very much slot out even then, immediately. And in fairness, you still came on when you had a resurgence, still came on and stuck to your guns. Last night, how embarrassed are you with the result and the performance?
First of all, hope you guys are well. But yeah, it's a disgrace. It's disgraceful.
Is it the worst result? Is it the worst result under Slot?
I mean, 4-1 to PSV was quite embarrassing. The 3-0 to Nottingham Forest at home was also quite embarrassing. You could argue the Bournemouth result was quite embarrassing as well. That was their first win in 13 games, or their second win in 13 games. I think the other one was Spurs. And the fact that I'm able to list off these embarrassing results just tells you all you need to know. We stink. We stink. And so does the manager. It is wretched The football is embarrassing. It's slow. It's lethargic. It's boring. Like, what more do you need as a fan to realise that what we're doing here, we're not progressing anywhere. We're not going anywhere. The loss is always around the corner. The players look like sometimes they're not even interested. Like, it's why does it take a goal? Why do we need to go a goal down in the 80th minute against the worst team in the league, or maybe one of the worst teams in history, to show a little bit of, a little bit of oomph, a little bit of personality, a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand it.
Montel, I've got to be honest, I was watching Wolves. I thought Wolves deserved it last night. I thought they played really well. But I couldn't believe the amount of time players had on the ball, the Wolves players especially. Like Gomez in midfield. At one point in the second half, he stood on the ball for about 5 seconds. Just stood there. No one pressed him. No one went after him. And then he just played rounders, playing little triangles. And I'm thinking to myself, is that the manager or is that the players? I don't know. I'm not sure, because are they flat? Are they tired? I could not believe the amount of time Wolves had on the ball. I don't know. You watch Liverpool more than me. Is that how they're playing now?
Unfortunately, this season. Because generally speaking, Gomez dog-walked Gravenberch. He dog-walked us. And it's not even a shock to me, because a couple of games before, it was Sangare. Sangare was looking at Paul Pogba. Every team, I told you, bagel ball. There's nothing in the middle. There's nothing in the middle when we play. Two passes, and you've got the oceans of space in the middle. And I'm making little jokes out of this, because if I don't laugh, you'll just cry, because genuinely, I don't know. I do know what I'm watching. And I said the manager has to go. He has to go. Just leave.
Well, that's not going to happen. And also, he did win. He has won the Premier League. Let's not forget that. You are still in the Champions League. You can still win that this year. So how does he get back to how it was? How does he get back to it? He has won the title. He has. How does he get back to it? How does he get back to the football that did it last season?
We can't keep saying he's won the title. And why are we even talking about the Champions League? We've just lost to Wolves. What? How can our brain move to the Champions League? We've lost to Wolves. So what, we think we can go and beat Galatasaray home and away over 2 legs, and then you've got a choice of Chelsea and PSG, and then you've got to look at a possible Bayern, Real Madrid, or who's the other team?
Straight away, you saying that straight away, but as far as I'm concerned, you're through at the semis with what you've just said.
Oh, I don't know,
After losing to Wolves.
I don't know, mate.
You've been doing it in the Champions League.
You are gaslighting me like you're gaslighting me like the manager. You're gaslighting me like the manager does. Because that's all he does. He sits there and he gaslights the fans, and he's in his own delusion. He wants to talk about how the Premier League's boring to watch. You're boring to watch. You're the problem. You know when the problem asks, oh guys, what's the problem? Oh guys, You're the problem. It's crazy. Is no one questioning him? Is it just a yes man facility? I need to know what's going on. Because, again, the 3 wins in a row, it was a farce. We scored how many set pieces against West Ham? They were better than us, and we were not better than us. We were rubbish in that first half, and we found ourselves 3-0 up. That game against Nottingham Forest, we are eyesore FC. I'd rather stomp on Lego than watch than watch what I have to watch week in, week out. I'd rather, honestly, even the game against Sunderland, it takes Van Dijk to score a bullet header for us to score in open play. We laugh at Arsenal. We need to look at ourselves. We laugh at Arsenal this, Arsenal that, open play this, open play that. At least they're top of the league. We are scratching our heads trying to and we got people out there commending the manager for trying to put out a fire that he started. It's disgraceful. I don't know, but it's fine. I don't know, my accent, I'm not scared.
You're not going to get rid of the manager, though, Montel. You're not going to get rid of the manager yet. You're not going to get rid of the manager yet.
He's not going to go now.
He's not leaving. So you've got then you can still have a successful season. You could win the Champions League. You could win the FA Cup. You could get Champions League football.
In spite of the manager, not because of the manager. At this rate, and
you didn't win the Premier League. We've had this conversation. You didn't win the Premier League in spite of him, though, did you? You didn't win the Premier League in spite of him, did you? You didn't go 38 games and win in spite of him.
Do you know what? I'm not changing. For me, I'm not changing. I don't change the past. I still give him every piece of credit for winning that Premier League. I don't act like it didn't happen, or I'm not saying he gets all the credit, and I think he deserves more credit than what people give him when it comes to that Premier League, in spite of what's happening now. And there are players that need to have a good look at themselves, especially for me, Alisson, who's dropped off a cliff at times as well. Van Dijk, who actually didn't have the worst game, but again, one lapse of concentration. I can pinpoint individual players, but I just think you have to. It all points back to the manager. And last night, of course, it's a deflected goal. If you want to look at the intangibles, it's a deflected goal. They had their first shot on target was their goal, of course, but it stems from the boring style of play. Cody Gakpo still starts week in, week out. Who makes that decision?
Right,
Cody Gakpo has been running.
We'll see what
he's underwater.
a couple more fans think. We've got some voice notes here. First from Chris, then Gary.
Good morning. I think it was Liverpool's probably worst defeat of the season. A team that are going to probably get relegated, and Liverpool was slow, just lacked ideas. And if this defeat cost them Champions League, then Arne Slot must go.
I really think the time has come for Arne Slot to go. I mean, this season has been atrocious. Performances have been awful, absolutely awful. And the excuses he keeps making. Oh, we're building a team. I'm sorry, you're Premier League champions. You're losing to the bottom of the table. It's the same performances every single week.
Do you still think you'll finish in the top 5?
Reluctantly, I said no before. Yes, more than no, because after seeing Chelsea draw to Burnley and Leeds, it won't be because of our quality. I just feel like the top 4 race has these inconsistencies of everyone around us. And I said, Wolves literally just beat Aston Villa 2-0. So, but there are teams as bad as us in the same race as us. Why are we even in this? Liverpool, we're the champions, man. We're the champions. We're the champions. So it's hard to even speak about this. But yeah, I think we just about scraped top 5. Okay. They've even given us another space. So we have to.
Right. Okay, Montel.
Tell us how you really think.
No, yeah. Appreciate your honesty. Thanks, Montel.
Take care, guys.
Table because they are top of it, and Tottenham Hotspur are in a relegation scrap. A huge game tonight for them. Who would have thought it? They are just 1 point above the relegation zone after last night's results. They host Crystal Palace later. Let's speak to Spurs fan Mitchell Fretton. Mitchell, a very good morning to you. How are you feeling? How are the nerves? Are they jangling? And is this, let's get straight to it, is this the biggest, let's say, Premier League fixture for Spurs at the new ground?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I think nerves are an understatement these days. I'm absolutely terrified of every single game that we're playing at the moment. It's such a big game. I would go further and say it's not necessarily even the biggest game at our new stadium, but the biggest game that Spurs have had in the last 20 years, because
bigger than the Champions League final.
Well, I mean, the Champions League final is all well and good, but I feel like the detriments and the impact and the long-term, I guess, consequences of getting relegated are bigger than playing in a Champions League final, to be honest with you. So, yeah, for that reason, I'm petrified. Last night's games couldn't have been any worse for us, and I just feel like that puts even more pressure on us at this point. Crystal, it's one of those ones as well on paper, isn't it? Where it's Crystal Palace at home. That's a game we have to be winning, and if we can't win that, realistically, who can we beat between now and the end of the season? And
that was my question.
Really any options.
That was exactly, my question, Rob. On there is, are Spurs going to win a game by the end of the season?
Well, I hope so. We have to. The thing is, I think one of the things that Spurs have had a problem with this season is, well, in the second half of the season, in 2026 maybe, is we've never really perhaps accepted that we are in that relegation fight. But now those players and the manager and everyone involved with the club have no choice but to accept that. So they have to suck it up. They have to realise that that's the situation that we're in, and they have to fight tooth and nail for every single minute that they're on the pitch between now and the end of the season. It's the only way we get out of this, because the teams below us, are better than us right now. Been watching them, been keeping an eye on their results. Wolves are playing better football than us. West Ham are, Nottingham Forest are. So what are Spurs going to do about it? And that has to start tonight by putting in a performance and a win.
Mitchell, Paul's message on the screen, you can see that, who's saying that Spurs are too big to go down? No guts, no glory. And there's already a bit of talking. Tell me if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but, social media is a dangerous place. But Spurs fans suggesting that if Igor Tudor loses this game tonight, that he might be out the door. The interim is coming to save you.
Yeah, well, it's panic stations, isn't it? It's emergency planning that I would imagine that the club are doing, because Igor Tudor's been brought in to make an instant impact. And if he loses all 3 of his first games in charge, with 9 games left after that, it all of a sudden then becomes a risk to leave him in charge of it, because we don't know if he's going to be able to win games. That's the most important thing. It's not about the style anymore. It's not even necessarily about which players are on the pitch at the moment. It's about doing everything you can to just pick up 3 points in any capacity possible.
Yeah, but you can't sack the manager. He's only been in the door 2 weeks. And this is... and he questioned it as well, Igor Tudor. He mentioned it what is the ambition of this football club? Is it now a realisation that Tottenham are actually not that good and are not one of the top 6? And all of a sudden they find themselves in a relegation 2 seasons in a row, that this is just the reality now of where Tottenham are?
Yeah, look, Rob, there's variables, I guess, over the last 2 seasons.
Or have I just made you realise that also?
No.
That was a deep sigh.
I agree with you. It's just, to be honest with you, I think the deep sigh is just, everything is getting on top of me now over the last couple of seasons of what's been going on. But you're right? We finished down there last season. We're down there this season. I know people have used the injury excuse, and to an extent that is a reason perhaps why we're struggling a bit more. But ultimately, a lot of people have said it as well. The players that we still have available and on the pitch, they're all international players. They're all players that have played at a good top level. And you look at that and you think Spurs shouldn't be down there. But we are down there. And if you've watched us, unfortunately, I've watched every game we've played this season. We just are that bad at the moment. There's no confidence. There's no structure or style.
Are they too good to go down?
No. Definitely not.
So you think they'll go down?
I don't think we'll go down.
Rob does.
I think if we lose tonight, then I will sit there and say, do you know what? Yeah, we will go down.
I think even if Tottenham win tonight, I think they're in big trouble.
Trouble. But Mitchell, I've got good news for you, because next season you've got a much easier route to get back to the Premier League. We've got 6 teams in the Championship playoffs.
You could finish 7th or 8th next season in a beautiful stadium and still have a chance.
Yeah, fantastic news. I can't wait for that, honestly. No VAR either, that's fine.
And there's still a scenario where you win the Champions League and go down and play Champions League football in the Championship. I'm not sure how that works out with Tuesday and Wednesday games, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
If one team are ever going to do that, it would probably end up being Spurs, wouldn't it? So
keep the faith, Mitchell. There's a long way to go. Right, let's bring in another Spurs fan, shall we? Let's speak to Chris. Chris, you do realise that if you do go down to the Championship and Arsenal win the league, you're never going to hear the end of this, are you? In your lifetime, in your children's lifetime, in your grandchildren's lifetime?
Well, Rob, good morning to you. I'm not interested about talking about Arsenal winning the title, and I'm certainly not interested about talking about Spurs being relegated. We've got 10 games to go.
This is what we want. Chris, we need some fighting talk. Come on, sell it to us. Sell it to the people watching Fan Club this morning.
Things need to dramatically change at the football club. We should never, ever be in this position. The board and the owners, really need to step up and change the way that they do things. And, Spurs should not be in this position. Of course, it was a very painful night. The results, last night, 4 points from a possible 30 in 2026 for Tottenham. And when you look at the teams around us, they are showing a lot more fight and they are picking up a lot more points. Forest 10. Leeds 11, Wolves 13, West Ham 14, and even tonight's opponents, Crystal Palace, have picked up 9. So, these next 10 games are absolutely crucial for the future of the football club to stay in the Premier League. Igor Tudor, of course, has come in to, change things and be that driving force and, to be that instant impact. And, let's hope that we do see that tonight. But what I would say is that the Spurs fans really do need to get behind, and I'm sure they will. The fans at the stadium tonight, they will get behind the team. And
Chris, just sorry to interrupt you there, but just on the impact of Igor Tudor, what impact have you seen?
We haven't seen any impact yet. We've seen 2 games. Of course, he's said a number of very negative things about the football club. I don't think that he realised what a huge situation he has walked into. You would think that when he took the job, you would think that he knew what he was getting into, but when he's actually in the football club now, he has just realised what a huge job this is. And, but somehow he needs to turn this around, put some confidence into the players and make them deliver, because this is a huge game tonight.
For years, people blamed Daniel Levy. You can't do that now. But, Johan Langer is the man who brought this guy in, right? Am I right in saying that? Your sporting director, he very much chose Igor Tudor, and he's been in these situations before. He comes in, he disrupts everything, and he normally gets a reaction from his players. That hasn't happened yet. It might do. But do you think down the line you might be looking at a third manager before the end of the season?
I certainly hope not, because we don't need any more changes at the football club. I just hope that Igor Tudor can get a tune out of this Tottenham Hotspur team and this squad. Yes, we've had a lot of injuries, but there are a lot of players underperforming. But I'm certainly not here to be slagging off or slating the players today. They need our support this evening. But going back to the board and decisions, we have seen so many managers, interim managers, since we moved into the stadium in 2019. We've gone round in circles. We should never, ever be in this position, as I said.
But why shouldn't you? Because you look at the last 2 seasons, and is Spurs in the right position fighting relegation? Because what's to say that they should be anywhere else higher in the league?
The transfer windows, Rob, need to be a lot better. The transfer windows have not been good enough since moving into that stadium. Decisions have been really poor. Sacking Jose Mourinho 6 days before a final, sacking Mauricio Pochettino when he didn't spend in multiple transfer windows in 518 days, took us to a Champions League final. I could go on and on with all of these decisions in recent times at Tottenham. But as I keep saying, Spurs should not be in this position. Major changes at the football club need to be made in the summer. At the moment, we don't know who's going to be the permanent manager. We don't even know whether we're going to be in the Premier League. We don't have a co-sporting director who has just left in January. There are a lot of issues, but I tell you what, these next 10 games are absolutely huge. I hope that we do get over the line. I hope that we do pick up enough points. But as I read those stats out earlier, if Spurs pick up 4 points from the next 10 games, like we have done in the last 10, we will go down.
Just with that as well, is there a realization now that there's actually bigger things inside the football clubs that is wrong? Because Igor Tudor just mentioned it last week about what is the ambition of the football club in terms of this is a big job, and he probably didn't realize it. Is there a season now where we look at maybe Arsenal win the league and Tottenham go down, and there's no manager at the end of the season to take you forward?
Rob, there were a lot of signs last year. Spurs with 22 league defeats under Ange Postecoglou. And yes, we won the Europa League. That was a great moment for us in May. But, 22 league defeats, finishing 17th. The transfer windows, again, I go back to that, should have been a lot better in the summer. The transfer window in January, I know they come out and said that there were only 33 transfers in the January transfer window. Spurs needed to go all out to try and get some key players in.
I actually disagree with you on that one. I get what you're saying. Absolutely, you want recruitment. But the only thing I disagree with you is I actually think they've got excellent players in the building, and it's more performance and delivery. And Spurs at home are the worst team at home, playing at home in the whole league. Chris, I think it's delivery.
Rob, we've got to leave it there, but it's a good final point. One word, Chris, staying up, Tottenham?
Yes.
On the set-piece debate, he says he has to adapt to whatever situation is presented to him, but didn't want to give his views on pushing and pulling in the box. Guardiola was speaking to the media in the last hour.
Two set pieces start to be an important part of the strategies. Before, when I started as a manager in the beginning, was different. We cannot say that in England, for example, set pieces. I remember when I was a young boy, a young kid. Every time we thought in Spain, when the people say, in England, when it's a corner, the people celebrate it, like a goal, celebrate the corner, a free kick. I remember perfectly when I was a young boy, so nothing changed. But it's true that I think Arsenal dictate a little bit how they do it, and it's an important role. And
there's been a lot of talk about excessive pushing and pulling at corners as well. Can anything done about that?
In that, I have my own opinion, remains to me.
You don't want to share with us?
I don't want to share. I share with my players for a long time ago. But about what happened inside of the box and outside of the box remains absolutely to me. And I don't want to share it with you.
you said how in England, when you were growing up, we used to cheer them and we loved them. But your influence on football perhaps is such that maybe we don't like them as much anymore. I mean, I think that's where Arne Slot was kind of going, right? So do you enjoy that style of football?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's what it is. Listen, it's my business. I'm a manager, no? When it's a set pieces, I'm going to say, referee, please, I don't like set pieces. Go out. So it's what it is. Adapt and do it. And football is, I said before, there are 1,000 million things. And football has not been played in one way since the football has been created. So the football play in England is different in Spain, is different in Italy, is different, and that's nice. That's why Champions League is nice, different ways, even in that country. Every manager play in different way. So it's nice. That's why it's so attractive, so seductive. How boring will be in all the managers and all the leagues play in the same way. How boring will be. So if I like or don't like, it's my business. So if I don't like, I don't watch as a spectator. But it's what it is. I have to adapt. It's a question of how quick you adapt.
Discipline. We can guess what's happening. You can have an idea. What are the players saying to you about it?
It needs to improve. It needs to improve.
And who's going to take that responsibility? Does that almost have to come from them when you go back and look at some of them?
Yeah, my job is to create a culture of accountability, where if you make a mistake, it's okay, you hold your hands up and you make sure it doesn't happen again. But you have to hold your hands up to the original mistake. If I make the wrong team selection or I get something wrong, my job is to be accountable, and it's the same for my players in that moment.
Because I don't know whether you've seen the other clip of Neto getting his first yellow, and he goes on and he goes on, and Reece James tries to move him away, and he carries on and he carries on. So in that moment, who has to have a word with him? Who has to say, why are you doing that?
Yeah, you need teammates to help you, but it comes down to yourself as well. Look, Pedro's apologised to the group. We miss him for Wednesday. I just need to see an improvement in the behaviour now. And it's not just Pedro. We've had bookings, people speak about dissent. We've had needless bookings in terms of fouls. If we are to improve and get to where we want to be, we have to make a conscious step now to make sure it doesn't happen again.
The players that have got yellow cards from dissent, and since August 2023, Enzo Fernandez has got 12 yellows. He's your vice captain. Okay, so if your vice captain is getting booked for dissent all the time, what message does that send out to the rest of the side? And do you have to maybe think about him as a vice captain within
Never.
this?
Enzo's a top leader. I've not even entered
Can your
my
top
mind.
leaders keep getting booked though? And
Yeah,
you in
if you feel
positions like this?
there's something that needs to improve, and yes, we're a young team. It's not an excuse. We have an outstanding team. They're young. We are one of the youngest in the league, one of the youngest in Europe. The beautiful thing about having a young team is sometimes you need to go through experiences to improve. This is a massive learning experience for my group. I do not want it to be a learning experience where we fail in what we want to achieve, but these setbacks that we are having, we have to learn from it, because if we do learn from them, we've proven, even in my short time here, that we can be.
Joins us, and now the perfect man, I suppose, to dissect what's happening at the club. Jamie, you weren't happy about what you saw last night. If you calm down, you look quite fresh and well, smiling.
It's been the longest 24 hours, I think, ever as a Spurs fan, Ted. Honestly, I can't believe how bad it's got. I'm not the perfect man to dissect it because I'm still so angry. And there's so many things that have gone wrong at Tottenham. Last night's performance was embarrassingly bad. Like, Van der Ven gets sent off, they score, and then we just fall apart. But to be honest, Ted, like, we wasn't even good. The first 20 minutes of the game, we're miles off it. Crystal Palace was so much better than us. Adam Wharton was playing like he was Gucci. No one getting tight. Crystal Palace were way better than us. Way better than us. And it's a sorry state of affairs that we find ourselves in. And it's toxic there at the minute. It really is.
I think Adam Wharton would probably appreciate that reference, to be fair, Jamie. You'd be forgiven, though, I suppose, for thinking Spurs are too big to go down. It hasn't happened in our lifetimes, but did the reality of possible relegation hit home last night with the performance as well as the result?
Yeah, look, Ted, I'll be honest. When I watch Spurs, I think it's not great at the minute, but we'll find a way. We've got some good players, Van der Ven and Romero, and, Solanke's a decent player. Players will come back fit. We'll find some results. What I saw last night we're going down. Like, at this moment in time, we are going down. West Ham are performing better than us. Nottingham Forest have got fight in them. Leeds have got fight in them. This team has got no fight whatsoever. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be in this situation. You can tell. They can't string 2 passes together. 2 passes. They don't get tight. They're 15 yards off players. There's no fight and will to try and win the ball back. Crystal Palace just knocking it around. Midfielders getting on the ball. It's embarrassing. I can't believe what I'm watching as a Spurs fan, and the people that are paying a lot of money to go and watch that team play, and they're putting in them performances. We're going down. At this moment in time, we're going down. Unless something changes drastically, whether that's the manager, the players find some belief, I don't think they care. I'm looking at them and thinking, do these guys care if they get relegated? There's too many players there who think they're too big for a dogfight. Too many of them. Van der Ven, the captain. Romero's the captain. I don't think they care. I don't think it really hurting them inside, because they'll just leave in the summer if they go down. See you later. Not my problem.
It's a huge thing to say that you think they're going down at the moment unless things change. What could change then? Because supporters were angry with the board last night. Jamie, small section even turned on each other. How toxic is it, and how do you change that toxicity?
Well, I'd sack the manager. Igor Tudor. I've just heard Bridgie there talking that they're going to keep him for now. International break coming up. You've got a guy to come in and do a job. His job was to come in and get quick results. That's what his remit was, because he's done it in the past. But if you look at him at the end of most of his managerial reigns, he's terrible. Falls out with everyone, then they get rid of him. But yeah, all right, he had a remit of he gets results when he first comes in. Well, he hasn't. He's lost 3 on the bounce. And the performances have got worse. Like, his tactics are terrible. And I know we've got injuries, but he's miles off it. He's got no experience in the Premier League. He's shown no evidence that he can get quick results. All he's done is come in and moan about the problems there is at Tottenham. We know there's problems at Tottenham. That's why you're in the job. But he's come in and made it worse. We've got worse. Thomas Frank, at least with Thomas Frank, if you had him in charge, he knows what the Premier League is. He knows, teams and tactics and how to get results. He's done it at Brentford. So at least he knows he's got Premier League experience. This guy has no clue about the Premier League. He's never managed in the Premier League before. So the only change you can make, the board ain't selling up. They're not going. You can't change the players because the window's not open. The only thing you can do is get rid of the manager. Get rid of him. He ain't good enough. This is desperate times. If this guy carries on in charge of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, I genuinely think that we're going to go down, because he's shown nothing. The players don't care enough. He's like a school teacher, a substitute teacher who comes in and you go, I'll coast through this lesson today because, he's not going to be here next week. That's what it is with this guy. He's not going to be there at the end of the season. So no one cares enough to actually want to do something about it. Get rid of him.
Talking of caring, do you care about the Atletico Madrid game then, or is that where you bring in a new manager and just give him a free hit in that game, as incredible as that is to say?
Yeah, Bridgie made a really good point. This is the first time I think that, a team that goes into the knockout stages of the Champions League and you'd actually could do without it. We could do without it, because it's so important to pick up results in the Premier League now that everything else really is irrelevant. If we beat the Atletico Madrid, well, it doesn't. Who cares? We're going down. We need to beat Nottingham Forest. We need to beat Liverpool. We need to get some results in the Premier League. It's almost like, Champions League. Well, look, great, but the elephant in the room is the fact that Spurs are 1 point above the drop zone. I don't know. Can you breed some confidence in the team? Because we have been decent in the Champions League. Can you breed some confidence and some belief that we can play some decent football? It's almost a free hit for the players, because no one really cares if we're in or out of it at the minute. So you're almost like, look, go and play, lads. Go and get some confidence and see if we can take that into a Premier League game, because our Champions League performances have been good. But when we go back to the Premier League, we're terrible again. I don't know. I just... It's a sorry state of affairs that we find ourselves in, that Spurs are in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid and we're sat here going, could do without it.
You never know, you might win it by accident, Jamie. What about the players? You mentioned them, more red cards than wins in the league this season. Who's to blame for the ill discipline? How annoyed are you with Van der Ven and Romero, who were, I guess, coming into the season, the star defenders?
Yeah, look, you can only blame the players, really. I mean, the Van der Ven one last night, what's he doing? What's he doing? You know, his man gets the better of him. You know, he scoops it up in the air. He knows he's in trouble with Van der Ven. Don't bring him down. Just accept that he's going to have a shot. Accept maybe that they score. You can't pull him down there. Like that. That just kills the team. It kills the team. You're down to 10 men, penalty, and a red card. It's like, come on, you're the captain. You can't make them mistakes. And there's too many times that actually Van der Ven is making them mistakes. And I don't know whether that's because he thinks he's too big for Tottenham and he probably don't want to be there anymore and he wants out. Or it's just maybe he's not as good as everyone has made him out to be, and he gets done. He gets done a lot. Romero's the same, he gets done. They're rash. You can't have that. It's all right seeing Van der Ven make these marauding runs through midfield, but we get opened up at the back because he's out of position all the time. It's you know, come on. I need to see so much better from the players, so much the standards of the players. I don't think, look, the manager's not helping them. I don't think the manager's helping them, but they're not helping themselves either. I don't think any of them have got any belief. Honestly, Ted, if you watched the game last night, first 20 minutes, they're scared. They are scared to touch the ball. They're scared to make something happen. They're scared to give the ball away. So all they're doing is just going sideways, backwards, back to Vicario, hope that we pick up a second ball. It's painful. It's hard because they're in a position that they've not found themselves in as players before, probably. But you have got to have some cojones to say, I'm going to get on the ball and I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to drag this team out of the mud. Because at the moment, every single one of them players, what I'm watching, are hiding. They're hiding. They don't want to be involved in this.
Talking of players, your top scorer from last season, there was a bizarre moment when Palace brought on Brennan Johnson. He got a standing ovation from the home fans, Jamie. How do you reflect on that decision to sell him? Was that wrong?
Well, at the moment, you'd say it's a bad decision. I thought we were selling Brennan Johnson because the Spurs board were going to say, we're going to go and sign some big players. Brennan Johnson, we're going to recoup some money and we're going to go and spend 70 million on a top winger that we needed. So that was okay. That was understandable. But then you signed Conor Gallagher and a left back, 18-year-old from Brazil called Sousa that no one's heard of. And you're sitting there going, hold on a minute. You've got rid of Brennan Johnson, who, listen, he's not brilliant, but he'd get you goals, and you've not brought anyone in. Conor Gallagher has come in, and you go, okay, yeah, he's an engineer, work hard, but this Spurs board said that they were going to sign top players. We were going to make a statement. In January, we were crippled with injuries, and then you sold Brennan Johnson. Kudus got injured, and there's no one there to play. We haven't got a right winger. You're asking Muani to play out there. He's a centre forward. Like, come on. It's the recruitment and the running of the football club has to be brought into, the frame. This cannot continue. This is years and years of bad decision from the top, which has filtered down into the squad, into the team, and now they're in a position where they find themselves where he could go down. The players ain't good enough. The players are not good enough. It's as simple as that. And you had the opportunity to go out in January and sign some top players that would have helped you get results, got you over the line, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it. You brought in Conor Gallagher. Come on.
Jamie, Sunday, March the 22nd. How big is the game with Nottingham Forest? This is, by the way, the same day that Arsenal are playing the League Cup final. Yeah. Could be, I suppose, a nightmare day in what's been a nightmare few months.
Every day watching Spurs at the moment is a nightmare. Like, it is. Like, genuinely, I'm hurting. And I didn't think I'd hurt as much as this. It is painful. That game against Nottingham Forest is a cup final. Right? And anyone who wants to try and play it down, Igor Tudor keeps trying to play it down. It's not a must-win game. It's a must-win game. Every game's a must-win game. We're 1 point above the drop zone. Every game's a must-win game. These players need to know. These are cup finals. You're in a cup final every week until the end of the season. You've got 9 games, 9 cup finals. If you keep saying, it's not a must-win game, what are you on about? Like, yes, you've got to fight. You've got to go and press. You've got to get tight. You've got to stop crosses. You've got to win balls in midfield. You've got to not make mistakes at the back. It's like I'm watching a reserve team play, like it don't matter. You're in a reserve league, and we just want to play, can we play nice football? Let's see if we can develop some young talent. No, people's jobs are on the line. People are going to lose their jobs. People at Tottenham, when you get relegated, ask any football club in the country. If you get relegated, people are there lose their jobs. These players need to understand that people are going to lose their jobs. if they don't produce results. People that they know at that football club will lose their jobs because they're going to have to cut costs. You're going to lose £250 million if this club goes down. Who's going to pay for it? The people there who have been there for years, who matter and actually care about the football club, they're the people that pay for it because they lose their jobs.
It's a good point, Jamie, isn't it? Because I've heard some older Spurs fans talk about a bit of nostalgia the last time they got relegated in the 70s, different trips. But do you sense that it's just more catastrophic now because of the finance?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, you're talking about Tottenham, who have got, all right, it's not the biggest wage bill, but you've got some players on there on 180, 150 grand a week. You talk about relegation clauses, who's in it, who's got it, who hasn't. But you're talking about, Champions League football, European football, TV rights. You talk about everything that comes with being in the Premier League as a football club, and a football club that's never been relegated out of the Premier League. You're one of the standalones in the league that has never gone down. That holds you in a high regard. You are a Category A football club. If you get relegated, you then become. You're not a Big Six team. You can't be classed as a Big Six football club if you get relegated from the Premier League. You're out of it. You're gone. You lose £250 million going in the Championship. And who's to say you come back? I've played in that league 46 games. Every team going at it, non-stop, week in, week out. Like, that is not... If Spurs think that you can just roll up to the Championship and crawl yourself out of it because you're Spurs, you're living in cuckoo land. Look at Leeds. They're down there for 13 years. They're a massive football club. It ain't that easy. And these players have shown no evidence that they're any good to even get out of the Championship. That team that played last night wouldn't even get in the playoffs in the Championship. It wouldn't even get in the playoffs because they got no fight. They got no passion. None of them have showed any quality. You'd get rolled over by Wrexham.
Can you fathom watching them in the Championship?
I'd have to. Listen, I've got to. Look, I follow my club. I know it's my job, and people moan at me, say, "Oh, you're going to lose your job if Spurs go down." Well, I'm not, because I'm a presenter, and Spurs are still going to be talked about even in the Championship, right? I follow all the football, but yeah, of course, I've got to watch my club. I'm going to have to. I'd have to suck it up and watch us play, and there'll be loads of talking points, of course, of Spurs in the Championship, the rebuild, but it is what it is. You have to take it on the chin. Three teams go down every season. It's the same for every team. This is obviously remarkable because it's Tottenham. But, big football clubs like Nottingham Forest, West Ham, they go down and they have to suck it up. As fans, you have to suck it up. But this is probably one of the biggest shocks ever. I think this is the biggest shock than Leicester City winning the Premier League. For me, this is the biggest shock. Spurs going down. We're in the Champions League.
Can you imagine Championship football at that stadium? Would be quite a scene, wouldn't it, Jamie? Appreciate your time and your passion as ever. Final question. You said you want Igor Tudor to leave now. Who would come in then to replace the interim?
Get Harry Redknapp in. Get Harry Redknapp in. Get Robbie Keane in. Jermaine Defoe. People know the football club. Have some affiliation. They need someone. The fans need someone who they can relate to. Someone they can get behind. Whether it's good or bad in terms of results, they can get behind someone because they know that they've got their person in there who cares about Tottenham, who cares about that football club. The problem the fans have got, and it's so toxic, they've got no relatability to this Igor Tudor. He could come in, bury the football club, go down, and he leaves in the summer, and he don't care. It's not my fault. There's this and that going on at the football club. The football club needs people in there who care about Tottenham. And whoever that is, whether it's Harry Redknapp, get some people in there that care about this club. Because at the moment, it looks to me like no one from top to bottom cares about this football club. No one. It's only the fans that seem to care about what the situation that the club's in. I can't believe what I'm watching. Can't believe it.
Spurs fans, please get in touch with those messages. Get them in. Jay Bothroyd is here until midday. Right, first question. Do you think Spurs are going to go down?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't think so. But after last night's performance and to see Spurs' running, the confidence of the players, the injuries they've still got, the suspensions now, it's looking really, really bleak. I still think they'll stay up. Again, just because I can't imagine them going down. That's the thing. I can't imagine them going down. I think they still got quality in their squad. But like the fan said there, and I think it was a mistake to bring in Igor Tudor, to be honest.
OK, so should they change it now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I don't think he knows a club. He doesn't know English football. And I feel like that's what is needed now. You know, I want to see someone like, you know, a Tottenham person in there, whether it's like Robbie Keane, Jermaine Defoe, you know, Harry Redknapp, whoever it may be, someone that knows the club that can go in there, put their arm around the players, give them that confidence, and get them on back on the right track. But it's really, really difficult now. They've got some massive games coming up as well.
But those names you've said, Robbie Keane, I suppose, could be long-term. The rest, I think you mean short-term. What if they do make a long-term appointment now? What's stopping them? What's stopping them?
I mean, nothing's stopping them, because I mean, all you've got to do is pay him out to the end of the season. It's not going to be much. But I think Tottenham should go for like someone like De Zerbi.
Well, he's available.
Yeah, and exactly. So they ain't got to pay for him. I think he's a very good manager. He plays attacking football. He plays possession-based football. I think the players that are there, especially when they're all fit, can play the way he would want them to play. And I think it would be good. I think that he's not going to, you know, take no, you know, attitude, egos. He's going to deal with people. But like all the places he's gone to, he's done well. He's been successful. So I think that would be a good one. Obviously, all the Tottenham fans will say Pochettino, but I don't always think that works well when a manager that did achieve a lot at Tottenham goes back, because then there's expectation for him as well. If it starts off really bad, then what? You know, what do you let go of a legend of the club? I don't know. I think it needs someone new to go in there long term, but in the short term, I think it has to be someone that knows the club.
There was a message on the bottom of the screen there that actually said they shouldn't have sacked Thomas Frank.
I mean, listen, there's a conversation for that, but I mean,
the fans wanted a change there. I just don't think they wanted this change.
No, exactly. I mean, no one I spoke to, and I still live in North London, no one I spoke to was happy with that appointment in Igor Tudor. And it's nothing to do with him personally, but I think everyone just wanted to have someone in there knows the Premier League, knows the club, or plays a brand of football where you can get a reaction from the players. I'm not sure Igor Tudor's gone in there and really demanded the respect of the players. And I feel like the person that goes in there, whether it's short-term or long-term, they need to do that.
Some news just into us, by the way. We understand that Igor Tudor will still take the news conference on Monday night ahead of their Champions League game against Atletico Madrid. Does that suggest to you that he's not going today?
I mean, we've seen things like this happen before, where people have their press conferences and say they're going to be in the job, and then the next day they're not. So we don't know what's going to happen. All I know is it's a big few weeks for Tottenham. You know, they've got the Champions League games as well. They've got Liverpool. That's a massive game. They need to turn a lot around. Do you know what as well? Like, I watched that game yesterday, and I'm looking at that game, and the 19-year-old in their team, Archie Gray, is the best player. And it's not to say nothing bad about him, but he was literally, everything was going through him. He set up the goal. He played fantastically well. To be fair, Solanke, he done all right as well. But Archie Gray, wherever he's playing, he always gives 100% effort. He always puts a big performances in. Even last year, when they was depleted with Ange, he was playing centre-back, he was playing left-back. He barely played in his position, which is midfield. So, I mean, big credit to him. He's improving leaps and bounds. But again, I just feel like they need someone to go in there to get a reaction from the players. And I think it will take someone, unless they can bring a long-term replacement in now, which I think should be like De Zerbi. Some people will say Poch. I think they need to bring someone in there now that would just give the players the confidence to turn this around, because this is really bad form.
Right, well, let's go live to Michael Bridge now, who is at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Good morning, Mike. I know that you were there last night. It doesn't seem to have ever been this bad for Spurs in the Premier League. Does it sound like Igor Tudor has survived this result, though?
Well, we'll wait and see, Tom. I mean, he's scheduled to take the press conference Monday night in Madrid, that game against Atletico Madrid. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Spurs will probably be the first team in Champions League history to look at the last 16 as a game they could completely do without. And, you know, Tudor said as much to me a couple of weeks ago. It's, you know, he's come in to keep this club in the Premier League. Now he's facing 2 games against Atletico Madrid. And in between that is a much, much bigger game, but it's away to Liverpool. So if they were to make another change, another interim would have such a difficult start. And it's like anyone, you know, when Igor Tudor came in, all smiles, shaking all our hands. Yeah, great job for him. But when you actually come into the job, you start training, you think, I've got about 11 or 12 fit players here, and it hasn't worked. Arsenal was always going to be a really tough game for so many reasons. Arsenal's bench would probably be a star player in that Spurs side. So I didn't really look too much into that result. But then it was the Fulham and the Palace game. Let's see where this Spurs side is. Let's see what the players are made of. And they've lost both of those games. And relegation now is a real possibility. I mean, everyone keeps saying it to me. Can't happen, can't happen. It's unthinkable, it's unthinkable. Can you imagine? Well, Spurs fans are now starting to imagine, and they are absolutely thinking the worst. And it was a really eerie kind of atmosphere feeling on the concourse at half-time. And then there was this sort of scream I heard behind me. And it was a third goal for Crystal Palace. And that's game over when you've got a player, you're down to 10, you're 3-1 down.
Who were the fans around you blaming? Who were they blaming? I mean, who was their anger towards?
Look, I think they're baffled as to why they didn't bring anyone in January. Thomas Frank wasn't the right fit at Tottenham Hotspur, and I think, you know, for me, they should have probably made the change at the very latest when they lost at home to West Ham, and of course that reignited West Ham's fight to stay in the Premier League. But there were so many incidents before then. There was the Bournemouth game when a few of the players were having a row with the fans. Then there was that Arsenal Cup Thomas Frank held in his hand, and I said to someone, that reminded me of the Steve McLaren moment when he had the brolly in his hand for England. But they didn't make a change. Then January came, they sold Brennan Johnson sort of on the first day of the January window. They had to bring players in. They simply had to, for so many reasons, and they didn't. And now the squad is short. There have been more injuries. The Romero suspension, he's now coming back, but then Van der Ven's now suspended. And they're clearly missing creativity in the likes of James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski, but they probably won't play for the majority of the season. So it's a real possibility, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Tottenham Hotspur could be relegated.
Bridgie, first of all, did you stay at the stadium for the whole game? And secondly, I look at the talent of those players that are available right now. The talent of those players available right now are still better than the likes of, no disrespect, but they're still better than the likes of Leeds. Do you think it's a thing where it's effort, application, or do you think it's players that are saying, I don't want to be here no more. I don't like this atmosphere?
No comment to your first question, Jay, or whether I stayed till the end. No comment on that one. But first time I've laughed for days. But in terms of some of these players, I don't think some of them actually realise the predicament they're in. Still, some of them, genuinely. But the thing is, Jay, you know, people who criticise Christian Romero's red card at Man United, you know, he'll get a good move. Mickey Van der Ven will get a good move, you know? And then in the end, they'll forget about it. But the Tottenham fans will still be here. Tottenham's best player last night, Jay, was Archie Gray.
Yeah, I said
19-year-old.
I said that, yeah.
And he showed leadership qualities I've not seen in this team. Yeah, look, there's a leadership group at Spurs. It's got Vicario, who for me has had a really poor season. James Maddison, obviously Maddison's got the ACL. Ben Davies has got a serious injury out to the season. Romero banned. So that leadership group, actually none of these leaders are actually on the pitch at the moment. I just don't see where the next points or win is coming from at the moment. And as I say, we're travelling to Madrid in a couple of days thinking they could really do about this game.
Bridgie,
the Champions League last 16, that is the absolute glamour of football.
Bridgie, let's just say like Tottenham do go down. Like you just said, you mentioned some names, Van der Ven, Romero, but I'm thinking there's more than that. So there's Porro, there's Solanke, there's Kulusevski, there's Maddison. Like, if Tottenham do go down and lose them kind of players, I'm not sure Tottenham come straight back up. Because people think the Championship is like an easy league. It is not an easy league. We've seen teams go down there and really suffer, the likes of Leicester. And I look at that situation and I think it's crazy to understand, even for me, that Tottenham could be in the Championship playing in that wonderful stadium and have no players to get them back to the Premier League.
You're going to make him cry, Jay.
Sorry, Bridgie, sorry.
Do you know Ian Bill? I've got nothing left. Look, Jay, you're right. Look, you know, and also, also, Jay, Tom, the summer, when there's an international tournament, it goes in a flash. It goes in an absolute flash. So you'll have players going to the World Cup with their countries. You know, you talk about Mauricio Pochettino here. You know, when will the USA get knocked out? I don't know. It's utterly unthinkable. And the problem is that they were losing games week after week after week, and then they were winning the odd Champions League match and finishing fourth in the Champions League, and it kind of like overshadowed it. But the difference last year was that they could lose. Actually, do you know what? They got used to losing too many league games here, and it's caught up with them, and they can't no longer rely on the three worst teams, because West Ham will pick up points. Forest will probably pick up points. As I say, I don't know when Spurs are going to pick up their next points. I don't think it will happen at Liverpool. Then this Forest game in a few weeks on the Sunday becomes a monumental game. Monumental. But, you know, Spurs have already announced season ticket prices are frozen for next season. But that's still one of the most expensive in world football. But that's for the Premier League. So, as I say, it's utterly unthinkable for so many reasons. Someone said to me the other day, it'll be the greatest story in Premier League history. Oh, great. But I can understand why people say it. I can totally understand why people say it. Because look at this stadium and just look at it. You know, you've got, you know, it is one of the best in the world, but too many people enjoy coming here. You know, and as I said the other week, I've seen Conor Ben win here just as much as Spurs. You know, and then but you've got the NFL here, you've got the Formula One here. You know, it is a wonderful stadium. And as I say, it is absolutely unthinkable. Yeah. But it can now happen. It can absolutely now happen.
Yeah, it's a great story, but certainly not if you're a Tottenham fan. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Is the headline. Solanke saying show fight or we're doomed to drop. He's basically warned his players, his teammates, Jack, that they have to fight. They're in a precarious situation. And I think it's dawning on a lot of them that they are really in the fight of their lives. He says us players on the pitch need to take responsibility after that 3-1 loss to Palace. Do you think they'll step up now?
I mean, you hoped it would have dawned on them that they're in some serious trouble. I think not only do they need to show some fight, a bit of competence wouldn't go amiss either. They've been so worryingly bad. They've got a real. Everyone sort of feels that in this day and age, a club of that size, stature, the income and the revenue that they generate, especially with their stadium, it's almost impossible for them to go down. But they've just been complacently falling towards it for week on week. I keep sort of saying to people, I think they will stay up, and I'm starting to worry that they're going to make me look very stupid indeed in the next couple of weeks. I mean, watching last night, it was just jaw-dropping in terms of how they fell away. Of course, you lose a man and it gets a lot harder from there, and they didn't concede after half-time. But that game, and even at Fulham where they offered almost nothing, there's been absolutely nothing there. And I think what they do need is some sensible decision-making. Tudor is erratic in terms of his comments, his team selections. I remember reading a column from Harry Redknapp, obviously, who's someone that a lot of Tottenham fans have maybe, you know, a bit cheeky but talked up whether he could have been an option when Thomas Frank was sacked. But he wrote a column in The Sun saying that what you've got to do is go in there and put your arm around players, because they'll be so shattered and the confidence will have completely gone that you need to try and pick that back up again. And Tudor seems to have just gone the complete other way, turned his guns on them, and it's left them in even more disarray. I think you look ahead at the games they've got coming. Liverpool, of course, you never really know what you're going to get from them this season, but they look far more confident and competent in the last few weeks, aside from that Wolves game where I don't think many people saw that coming. And then you go ahead to that Forest game, which is enormous, and you wonder whether they're in a mindset and a mentality at the moment to be able to cope with that sort of game and the pressure that will bring, being up against one of their two rivals for relegation. They've already lost to West Ham at home in the past couple of months. That was one of the final nails in the coffin for Thomas Frank. And you do think you need these figures like Dominic Solanke and maybe Richarlison to be the ones leading it. They would have had at Bournemouth and Everton experiences of having to try and stay up, to fight to stay up in the Premier League at times. And you look across the rest of the squad and it's just not a group that's built for this sort of fight, that will have been under this sort of pressure before and will know how to react and give everything. And if you've not got a manager that's lifting you up and telling us you can do this, you need those that have been around in this situation before to take the lead and do that. So I think it's encouraging to hear Solanke say it, but of course fans won't believe anything until they see some sort of response. And although it's not the priority, Atletico Madrid is where they want to see it.
Yeah, looking at the back page of the Star, Domshell is the headline. Solanke saying, show some fight or we're doomed. How much of this is on the players, do you think, Mark? Of course, we know that Tudor's come in as a firefighter to get them out of a horrid situation. But once the players cross the white line, it's on them, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's on the players because they're the ones that have been getting the results and they've been getting terrible results. They haven't won the Premier League game in 2026, so that shows you how badly they've been performing. But, you know, it's a bit easy to put it on the players. And even it's easy to put it on Thomas Frank and Igor Tudor. You have to ask the question, when they sacked Thomas Frank, who at Tottenham thought it was a good idea to hire a coach who had no Premier League experience, who had, as a player as a coach, whose reputation in Italy was as a firefighter, he didn't stay long in his jobs. He had no real credentials to take the Tottenham job. So the Tottenham board who made that decision were really playing Russian roulette with the club's future by doing this. They were probably being a bit too clever, thinking, oh, we'll be all right, we're Tottenham, we've got a squad of players. But they haven't got a squad of players. I mean, I was looking around, you look at the Forest team and the West Ham team. Tottenham haven't got a Jared Bowen. They haven't got a Morgan Gibbs-White. Who's the Tottenham player that can get them out of a hole in the game and turn a game? They haven't got anybody. What happens at Tottenham is their players let them down. You know, Romero in one game, Mickey van der Ven in another game. A lot of players go missing. And I think you look at those games, Jack's mentioned those games, you know, Liverpool away where they never seem to win at Anfield. Forest at home. Will Forest play Fulham at home prior to the game against Tottenham? So you'd expect that Tottenham will probably be below Forest by the time the game comes around. They've got to go to Aston Villa, Tottenham. They've got to go to Chelsea. They've got to go to Wolves, who, although they're struggling right now, Wolves are playing well at home. So I find it really hard to find games that Tottenham can win. They probably need to win 4 games to be certain of staying up. 4 wins out of 9 games. They haven't won since December. So, yes, it's Tottenham, one of the biggest clubs in England. Tottenham got a great stadium, great training ground, blah, blah, blah. We say it all the time. But their derby could be against Stevenage next year in the Championship because that's how it's looking at the moment. Spurs could get relegated and Stevenage, who were non-league not so long ago, could be coming up. So that is the bleak future that Tottenham face. And I don't see a way out of it for them. I really don't.
Yeah, Jack, as Mark has mentioned, Tudor was brought in with no Premier League experience. Back page of the Times saying that Spurs set to give Tudor one more chance to avoid sack. So basically, they'll stick with him for this upcoming Champions League game on Tuesday against Atletico Madrid. But his future beyond that is uncertain. It feels almost preposterous to say it, but after 4 games, he could be sacked.
I mean, it does, but also you look at the games and he's already had, I think Tom's piece there says that he's already had a quarter of the games he was given and they've got a lot worse and they've got absolutely nothing out of them. You can almost write off Arsenal, of course, because although it's a derby and it's a huge game for Tottenham, I think nobody really expected them to get something out of that. But the way they've performed against Fulham and Crystal Palace is horrendous. And I think Mark hit a really good point there in terms of being a bit too clever in where they turn to get someone. It sort of feels like a deal that maybe Fabio Paratici, the old director or technical director of football, head of recruitment, whatever his role was, it changed quite a lot. It feels like they just sort of found a contract and an option that he might have left in a drawer somewhere and went, okay, that's quite good. We'll go and get this chap. That's all sorted. So you wonder where they look next if they are going to make a change. But the way it's going and the performances we're seeing, he's obviously getting nothing out of the players. He doesn't know what his best team is, and fair enough, why would he? He's got a load of injuries and he doesn't know this squad. The changes and selections he's making are very bizarre. I think it seems ridiculous, but we've seen across this entire season, Forest are on to their fourth manager. Managers have come in, people that were supposed to be there for a long time. Enzo Maresca had won trophies, and Liam Rosenior's come in at Chelsea, and there was even a touch of pressure on him at times when he was winning games. It's been an incredible season for managerial churn, and I don't think if things don't pick up across the next game, and it's not a case of can we see small signs of progress, that's not what Tudor's there for. They need to see big leaps in progress, points that they can put on the board and move away from a situation they would have never, ever seen themselves in. So if it doesn't pick up very, very quickly, I think they'll have to make a change.
Yeah, and whilst the Tottenham hierarchy are worried about the results and the performances, they'll also be worried about the financial implications of a team like Spurs, one of the 6th richest clubs in the Premier League, playing in the Championship next season. They'll lose out on TV money, on sponsorship deals, on gate receipts, revenue, everything. Some figures quoting as high as more than £200 million they'll lose out on by being relegated, Mark. In the Telegraph, they go one step further in saying that crisis hit Tottenham, weighing up actually appointing a second manager in a month. Not that they'll give Tudor more time, they're actually weighing up another manager right now. So you can understand why this has reached crunch point. And yes, it might be preposterous to sack a manager after 4 games, but when that amount of money is involved, it's necessary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, relegation would be catastrophic for Tottenham. There's no escaping that. I mean, they are a well-run club financially, and you think that they are, cushioned against the potential of relegation, but it would not be something they've ever contemplated. And we know they've got relegation clauses in the contracts of the players who most will probably leave anyway. Not that they're good enough, but most will probably leave because they want to get away. That Spurs wouldn't be able to pay the wages even if they had a 50% reduction. So the sense of chaos that would envelop Tottenham if they were relegated just would be, I don't know, be unprecedented, because you're looking at a squad of players that would go, the fans would be in absolute revolt, the board would, I'd imagine the CEO would have to go, because if you're CEO at Tottenham, you take the club down, you can't stay on. So it's not just what happens on the pitch, it's what happens off the pitch, and it's what happens to the reputation of the club. Would they, and we're talking about would they come back up, he hasn't even gone down yet, but would they come back up? Because they haven't got a squad of players that you could rely on in the Premier League. So could you rely on those players that we all talk about? Tottenham have no fight, this Spursy thing. How would that go down in an away game at Millwall or at Stoke? We're talking about tough encounters that Tottenham aren't built to cope with. So they just got to pray they don't go down, because the prospects of coming straight back up, who knows? It's going to be very, very difficult and very bleak for Tottenham.
Yeah, it is. We'll wait to see if they can bounce back. And speaking of bouncing back, a great night for Liverpool in the FA Cup, the first team to make it through to the quarterfinals. They beat Wolves at 3-1, just a few days, of course, after that dramatic shock defeat to Wolves in the league at Molineux. Back page of The Guardian, Salah too slick for Wolves, with a picture of him celebrating his goal. He was on the score sheet, Jack, and it looked far more comfortable, didn't it, for Liverpool this time around?
It did, not only compared to midweek at Wolves and that incredible result and that incredible night for Wolves, but even if you go back to their game against West Ham at Anfield in the Premier League, they scored 5, but it never felt entirely comfortable. West Ham, I think, had a higher XG for what that's worth and created plenty of chances, scored 2. Liverpool relying on set pieces, and even though they racked up plenty of goals in that game, and that should have been a huge moment of relief to go on, it still felt a bit jittery and that they weren't quite comfortable or composed in that game. So to do this, it wasn't a stellar game of going out there and ripping them apart, but they were patient. They kept their heads the first half. They just probed at Wolves and couldn't quite get through. And then it took a fantastic goal from Andy Robertson to get them going, and they were able to kick on from there. And it's important for Salah as well. He's gone a long time without goals, and now he's got a couple in back-to-back games, both at Molineux, and obviously this one contributing to a win. And especially in the FA Cup, you now look at the FA Cup and the Champions League as Liverpool's chances of enjoying a successful season. I think nobody would have foreseen what they've gone through in the league this year, but if they can secure a top 4 finish and a trophy, then it's a decent year for Arne Slot, especially given where they've been. And I thought it was a great night as well for Rio and Gamoa. We've seen flashes of him, that goal at Newcastle right at the start of the season, and there's been a lot of pressure on Arne Slot to give him a chance, but he's just 17, so I think Slot's probably doing the right thing in just holding him back. But we saw plenty of ambition and endeavour in what he wants to do, taking on players, the confidence to to cut inside, go past one and have a shot, which in games like that where Wolves were sitting tight is exactly what you need, and it's another exciting night for him.
Yeah, and Mark, Jack alluded to it there, but after such a poor defence of their Premier League title, it feels even more important that they get to the latter stages of the FA Cup. A trophy they haven't won, by the way, since 2022. Do you see them going into the latter stages even further? I mean, can they even win it, this Liverpool team?
Well, they can win it. I mean, what, in the quarterfinals now? So a decent draw, takes them to the semi-finals. I think, you can never, ever write Liverpool off in any cup competition, no matter how they're playing. And, I still think they've got a good chance of the Champions League because they have it in the DNA, don't they? That Liverpool do well in the Champions League, even when they're not doing well in the league. So I think 2005 was the obvious example of that. So they've still got a lot to play for Liverpool. They're nowhere near where they should be, but I think Isak will be back maybe early April. So the big players might be back end of the season where the trophies are handed out. I think they've got a great chance in the FA Cup if they get a decent draw. Listen, even if they get drawn away at Arsenal or Man City, you still got Liverpool to give them a game. So they've got a great chance of finishing the season with at least one trophy.
Yeah, still a load of big teams in this FA Cup draw, isn't there? OK, Jack, Mark, we'll leave it there for just a moment. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at more of the sports stories in the morning's newspapers, including this in the Star, as Manchester United fans vent their fury at the club's decision to raise season ticket prices. Stay with us.
By the Championship clubs this week to increase the playoffs from 4 teams to 6 starting next season. Not going to be happening for the time being as far as League One and League Two are concerned. We did discuss it a couple of weeks ago. Are you for or against this move?
Yeah, I'm for it, if I'm being honest. I think it keeps the season alive. I think if you look at it now, I think it goes all the way down to Norwich. And Norwich would be 6 points off of, I think it is, off of 8th place. So for me, I think it does. I think otherwise it fizzles out. Football League clubs need money. They need money. And if you can keep on getting packed houses and you can nick a couple of full houses before the end of the season when the season's not a dead rubber, I think it's only good. It's not the Premier League, where we're dealing in millions and billions. This is the Football League. And they I think if they can make as much money as they can, I still think you've got to do it in League 1 and 2, not just the Championship.
Let's just explain how we think this is going to work. There's not been an official announcement in terms of the formats. But there will be a eliminator match like we see in the National League. That will be between the teams who finish 6th and 7th. The winner then progresses to the first semi-final, playing the 3rd place team over 2 legs. The second eliminator match will be between the teams who finish 5th and 8th. The winner, he's still with us, will progress to the second semi-final, playing 4th place team over 2 legs. The winners then, of course, head to the final at Wembley. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, listen, Clinton, the argument is it's going to add intensity, it's going to add excitement to the season. There'll be more games towards the end of the season with lots riding on it. But we talk so often about just how exciting the Championship is already. Does it need this?
I didn't think it did need it, but then when we spoke,
did that explain to do it for you?
Yeah, that explained it to me, to be fair. And if I'm one of the teams that finished 7th or 8th and I was still playing, I'd be happy about it. So you can understand why everyone in the Championship voted for it, because if you're a team it could be someone that's in 3rd place that just miss out on getting promoted into them top 2. You could be 22 points behind them and finishing 8th, and you could be the team that gets promoted at the end of the day. So it's brilliant for the teams that are 7th and 8th. I think if you're good enough, you should be finishing in that top 6. But it does give other teams opportunities, so I can understand it. If I was a player now, playing in the Championship, I'd be all for it. So I can totally understand it. And it's exciting. They do it in the National League. It is exciting. But as I say, if I'm a team that's finished 25 points ahead of them and I end up missing out...
Well, that was the point York City made last season. They lost out at Southend in the playoffs, didn't make the final.
Mercy's right, though. You can't just do it in the Championship. It's got to be in all the leagues. League 1 and League 2.
No decision being made on that at the moment. I mentioned York City because they finished 28 points ahead of Southend, but Southend put them out and they made the final, but it was Oldham in the end, and Oldham going really well in League 2 at the moment. But I guess the other argument, Tim, is in terms of expanding the amount of teams in the playoffs, and John Eustace made this point, it'll help those smaller clubs who don't have as big a budgets. It kind of, to an extent, levels the playground a little and gives clubs like that a real opportunity to maybe part of the playoff picture come the end of the season.
It does. I mean, I know we've seen clubs jump from League 1 to the Championship and then up, like Ipswich did, and Wrexham are going well at the moment. But I think it gives the League 1 sides who just get promoted an opportunity to get to the playoffs. A realistic chance, when they're dropping it down so low. But what it also gives the teams who come down an opportunity to jump straight back to the Championship, the Premier League, where the Holy Grail is. if they don't, automatically, I think the teams who get relegated are the ones who are favourites to get promoted. But I think it gives them a more opportunity to be able to bounce back straight away at the first of asking.
Not only a big derby day win, but this can actually clinch you the title. You could be winning the title there against your fiercest rivals at home in front of your fan base. There is no way on earth I'm missing that game.
Hello, boys. We are here at San Siro. We just wanted to send you a message. It is match day -1, the Derby della Madonnina tomorrow, boys. But we've had some time here now in Italy, haven't we? Have you enjoyed it so far, Nige?
Been absolutely sensational, as I'd say. We've had some sensational food, cuisine, and the company's been even better than the food. But had a great time so far. Really fun.
Yeah, I personally went to the Inter training ground. We got to speak to some people there, really amazing people that welcomed us. I got to play with Nigel, seeing the smile on his face.
How was that, by the way? We're gonna show
him light up.
We're gonna show it tomorrow, but
Yes.
just give everybody a preview. Was he okay?
Watching Nigel light up, just watching his smile light up with the football was amazing. And then obviously we went to La Scala, which was really fun. We got to meet these ballerinas that made us feel like we've never been athletes ever in our life. That's how amazing they were. So, and then the food speaks for itself. So we've had a great time.
It's been everything and beyond. You guys went to Milanello, great candid interviews with Zlatan. Christian Kivu really opened up about so much that we were even surprised. He gave us so much time. He was great to talk to. We had brilliant insight on the inner workings of Inter, and everything we've heard has made us feel like this is going to be a really balanced game tomorrow.
It's so true. There's so many storylines. There's so much to look forward to. Speaking of Zlatan, he gave us so much time, didn't he? He took us all around Milanello. We were talking to him for what, a good hour and a half, Nige, would you say?
Yeah, probably about an hour and a half, but it was just a breath of fresh air, you know, to see this side of Zlatan and the new role he has now at Milan and how he just sees football. The conversations we had, we talk about players who might be seen as a difficult individual to work with, and he gave a different perspective on it. It was really refreshing, because I think that's one thing when we say certain things on air, we get given this platform, and sometimes you might even question yourself, but then when you speak to players of that caliber and they have the same kind of vision and understanding of the game, it's very refreshing.
Speaking of being candid, you'll be surprised to know that Mike Groller asked Christian Kivu a bit of a tricky question right off the bat. Hey, Christian, nice to see you. Straight in with a tough one. But he was also really candid, wasn't he, Grell?
He was, and he's like Matteo says, we were surprised with how really a gentleman he is. And we know that he's humble, the way he deals with the media and the way he's done his job so far to this point. And he's right now favorite to probably win the Coppa Italia and the Scudetto. And he's a young manager, only 13 games at Parma before coming to Inter. So he gave us such great insight. We'll obviously wait to see tomorrow, because it's going to be, I think it'll be good. I think you'll like his answer too. I think it was good. So, but it's been an amazing trip so far. And tomorrow's a real gut check. I think put the football aside tomorrow. Tomorrow's about personality and about gut check. So I can't wait to see it.
It's so true. We're going to have so many guests joining us, hopefully all throughout the show. But Matteo, the stakes couldn't be bigger tomorrow. Not only is it the biggest derby of the season, but also it's either going to be a 7-point gap or it's going to be a 13-point gap for Inter.
Look, Kivu didn't want to go as far as saying that the Scudetto's over. He's still going to say it's mathematically still open, but we know realistically if Inter win or even draw, I think, the Scudetto's over. And you could tell with the way that they played against Como, the way that they rested, the way that they didn't want to expend too much energy. They put all their eggs in getting points against Milan. And if they do, I think you can kiss the Scudetto bye-bye if you're any other team.
But if they don't, Nigel, and it's only 7 points, does it crack the door open for Milan?
It cracks the door wide open for Milan to put lots of pressure on this Inter side, and it makes it a great Scudetto race, which is what we want. It's such a big game, and it's not just the fact that we cover it. We know this is one of the biggest derbies in world football. And, you know, you and I are English. We used to watch this derby as well. We know what it means.
Yeah, Christian said to us, Milan, they're the ones down 10 points. They have to come for the game. I asked him if you ever watched Milan play before. Because we'll see. But Allegri is not known to go for the game. So we'll see how they interpret it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. So we are going to be here, obviously, with all the build-up to the Derby della Madonnina pitch side. We'll see you soon, though, boys. We hope you enjoy the game as well tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Pops. I appreciate it. They look like they're having a good time. I like the way Grella brought up food straight away. That tells me all I need to know about Grella's experience so far. But they are right. This is the biggest game in the history of world football. And I don't say that lightly, because I am a 90s baby, so I grew up watching this and appreciating the growth of Serie A right in front of our eyes when it was the Premier Division. Where you rank it now doesn't matter, because the nostalgia and the history of these two teams really does speak for itself. So, Simone, I'm going to ask you, in terms of the implications, knowing that the Scudetto could be on the line as well, well. How big of a game is this in your eyes?
Huge game. I actually agree with Matteo. I think it's just a point who clinched the Scudetto for Inter, so it's a massive game. But the derby is the derby. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day where the two teams are in the standing. To me, the fascinating thing is that we see how dominant Inter has been in the past few years in the derby. 4 losses and 2 ties, so they really want to kind of change that trend if you're Inter, even if you're going to end up winning the Scudetto.
Troy, does form go out the window when you're talking about derbies? Does it matter in terms of what the confidence was going into this one?
No, it's a reset button for everybody, because this is about, the first thing first, it's not about the football, it's about fight. Who wants it? Who's going to back down first? This is pride and family at stake, you know, like that pride of who owns the city. Is it ours or yours? Yes, Inter may win the league by 10 points, but if Milan win it, hey, we have the bragging rights for the whole city. So that's how it goes. I think it's going to be a really intriguing game. Inter, while they're ahead, had a very disappointing moment in the Champions League, obviously going out. Lost Lautaro Martinez as well, so how does that now impact on them? And you have to remember as well, JD, they've been in this position the last couple of years where they're favourites to win a lot of things and come away with nothing. So now you have to say, okay, this is a real massive game for AC. If they can get this win, what does that pressure and the mental fatigue do to Inter? So there's loads of implications on it. I think it's going to be a great game. Very disappointed that we're not there, but hey.
Didn't get the call up.
We'll get them on the next one. We'll get them on the next
one. I love the conversation that was between our crew, obviously that's in Italy, because they were talking about the inexperience technically of Kevu. He would understand what it's like as a player, but as a manager, it's a completely different implication when you're standing on the sideline. How do you think he approaches this one?
Yeah, when you step into the San Siro, Simone, I'm sure you've felt this. It's a different pressure. You can feel the weight of expectation, the weight of decades. And when you approach a match like this, if you haven't been through a match like this, it's a real shock. So you have to prepare your players to expect weight, history, and just it's got to be about the fight. The form, like you said, the form goes out the window. It's about who's going to win that 50-50 ball, who's going to win the headers, who's going to get stuck in, who's going to run until their legs cannot work anymore. So that's really what it's about, instilling that, just communicating that passion to the other side.
And then just also on that though, JD, with all of that emotion in, whoever then calms themselves the quickest. So you have to have the big tackle, the big fight, run hard, or your head's everywhere, but then who can go, okay, come, let's play a little bit here. Let's have the composure in the final third. We'll be the team that wins. So for all of the emotion, all of the high stakes, it's who's going to be able to handle that and be calmest the most that will come out on top.
Simone, you speak about how much this means and how no doubt about this was circled by both Inter fans and AC Milan fans well in advance when looking at the calendar. But could you quantify to us, and just in terms of, as the resident Italian here, you let us know in terms of why this is such an important game and why the world will stop tomorrow?
Well, it's bragging right, first of all. And San Siro, it's the Scala del Calcio. So winning in San Siro against Inter for an AC Milan fan is definitely the best thing you can possibly do. I mean, it's interesting now because there's question about can actually Milan compete and contend for the Scudetto. So it's interesting. On the other side, it's also interesting what Inter, Matteo actually mentioned the Coppa Italia game, that Inter can arrest a lot of people because they put all their eggs on the match tomorrow. It's interesting, actually. A little breaking news: Thuram woke up with fever today, so we might see a forward line with Pio Esposito and Boni, which is kind of, you know, if you're used to Lautaro and Thuram, it's a little different. So it'll be kind of fascinating, and honestly, I can't wait.
All of those factors are really important. You know, as a forward, if you hear a forward is not going to be playing tomorrow because of fever, and is all of a sudden you make adaptations as an advantage now. Is it advantage AC?
Yeah, but also if I'm Thuram, there's no way I'm missing this game. There's no way I'm missing this game. And I think, yes, maybe he's got a fever and he's going to try and get there, but I have to be involved. These are the nights that, as a player, when you're in the peak of your feet, you've got these all for the rest of your life. But you don't know how many of these days you've got. This could be not only a big derby day win, but this can actually clinch you the title. You could be winning the title there against your fiercest rivals at home in front of your fan base. There is no way on earth I'm missing that game. No way.
I can fully understand. There's so much implications going into Derby Day tomorrow.